Chapter 6:21. How did he know? Could he say that he guessed blindly? Moreover, apart from evil gods, there didn't seem to be anything good that could happen here. Evil God really wants to attack the 12 cities. Lin Fan asked. This was indeed a serious matter, but to him, this was also an opportunity. He knew the use of evil gods. The blood pearls hidden in their bodies could help them break through to stage 8 and even stage 9. At the same time, they could allow Tao pattern laws to merge into heaven and earth once more. They would be able to reopen the path to the peak. I just received news that the evil gods have gone mad and summoned the slave army to wipe out the 12 cities. Such a thing has never happened before. Mo Fu's expression was solemn, and he panicked. He was panicking to death. It was like the sky was collapsing. He didn't know what to do. Thus, he thought about Lin Fan right away. What is going on now? Lin Fan asked. They shouldn't have attacked yet. Otherwise, it wouldn't be like this. Mo Fu definitely wouldn't be so free to talk about such things here. Mo Fu was worried. Based on the news I just received, the evil god-slave army has gathered and is heading towards the 12 cities. There are dozens of them. This is a really terrifying force. I am afraid we can't block them. How could Mo Fu not be afraid of the evil gods? Just thinking about it made him feel terrified. Dozens of evil gods. Be it a first-class evil god or a second-class evil god. They weren't something the 12 holy cities could defend against. Along with those evil god slaves, it was indeed a terrifying force. Maybe I can earn another wave. Lin Fan muttered. Mo Fu was terrified and was about to pee his pants. But he actually wanted to use those evil gods to earn rage points. That was just too much. Sect Leader Lin, what should we do now? Mo Fu asked. He had tried to find the evil god that lent them power, but there was no reply. Without the help of evil gods, what could they use to fight them? Even if they used their heads, they wouldn't be able to block them. What else can we do? We have to fight them. If we are afraid, they will be insatiable. Only by hurting them can we protect the existence of the city. Lin Fan said. Mo Fu was in a tough spot. But how are we going to fight them? It is already not easy to defend the city. Lin Fan patted Mo Fu's shoulder and said solemnly, sometimes if you don't try, how will you know? Find out which city is the evil gods prepared to attack first. Sect Leader Lin, follow me. Mo Fu said. Inside the sanctum. The evil god-slave army will gather here and then head south. Based on this route, the first place should be the City of Light. Mo Fu pointed at the route on the map and said. Lin Fan took a look and smiled. Your City of Hope is really lucky. Based on this order, aren't you the last city? Mo Fu was helpless. Sect Leader Lin, don't say that. If the lips die, the teeth will be cold. In the end, it will still be our City of Hope's turn. Looking at Mo Fu's current state, he felt really bad. He even had the heart to die. Something like this happened out of the blue. It made him feel a little desperate. Sect Leader Lin, please help us. Without the help of the evil gods, we won't be able to block them. Mo Fu's eyes were filled with emotions like he wanted to use his emotions to touch Lin Fan. Towards such a gaze, Lin Fan felt a chill down his spine. Was this old fellow going to sacrifice himself so that he could fight the evil gods? It was tough to swallow. Don't worry, leave this to me, Lin Fan said. It was rare for him to encounter such a situation, so how could he give up? He had to fight the evil gods head-on. City of Light. The people who were already forced to a corner by the evil gods were now facing the full invasion of the evil gods. This caused the death energy above their heads to become thicker and thicker. Sir D, the evil god-slave army is half a day away from us. A male carried 2 crossed swords on his back. He looked really majestic. How are the arrangements for the people? Dichio asked. The evil god army was here, and they had no hope of surviving. But no matter what, they had to live. Even if they were weak, it was better than being killed by the evil gods. I'm making arrangements. They are split into 13 groups and are hiding in the cellars. I just hope that they can survive. The male's voice was thick. Maybe because he knew that the evil gods were here, his voice was trembling. Dichio was the strongest expert in City of Light St. Hall, and he was also the person in charge. But now, He looked really tired and much older. "Yeah, that's good." Dichio nodded and then looked at the people in St. Hall. "I know that all of you are afraid because we are facing the evil god army. But the reason why the 12 cities were able to survive until now isn't because of strength or evil gods. It is because of our courage. We might die in this battle, but death isn't scary. One day, our descendants will recover the world we lost. What we need to do now is to prepare to fight against the evil god army." His voice was really loud. Even if they died, they didn't fear anything. "Yes, we are prepared." Everyone hollered in rage. Their voices shook the sky and spread throughout St. Hall. The next day, the trembling sound reverberated outside the City of Light. The entire ground was shaking. There was a black patch outside the city. There were all sorts of evil god servants, and they all looked like monsters. Their roars reverberated and spread into the City of Light, shocking everyone. On the city walls, the warriors of the City of Light looked at the black patch outside, and their expressions became really solemn. Some were too afraid, and their legs were trembling. They didn't expect there to be so many of them. "Do we have a chance of winning?" Someone was stunned. Anyone who saw this knew that they had no chance of winning. They might even die a horrible death. Behind the evil god army were dozens of evil gods. They didn't attack the city for no reason. But during this period of time, they faced the most unbelievable thing in history. Someone was actually killing their evil gods. Thus, they wanted to release their rage on these small living beings. Dichio stood on the city wall and looked into the distance. He saw that in the turbid space behind the black mass of evil god servants, there were indistinct evil god apparitions. Those tall apparitions were evil gods. They received orders from evil gods. The evil god servants roared and hollered. Like locusts, they crazily charged towards the City of Light. They didn't talk at all. There was no nonsense at all. "Guys, the time to protect the city has arrived. Don't be afraid. Fear will only speed up your death." Dichio hollered in rage. Shortly after, an old book with an unknown aura appeared in Dichio's hands. The book flipped open and a mysterious power gathered. Dichio raised the staff in his hands and hollered in rage. Raging flames burn. A mysterious diagram appeared in the air. Scorching power gathered. Shortly after, flames that could burn the sky exploded, turning into several fire dragons that swept the evil god servants. How long? Intense flames covered the area. The range of the flames was huge. Some evil god servants cried out in pain, while others roared in rage. Dichio's expression was solemn. These could only deal with normal evil god servants. The truly strong ones were enough to deal with these flames. Suddenly, the ground shook. The dimension ripped open and an old era overlord stepped out and hollered in rage. A bunch of small blood food that borrowed the power of evil gods. Dichio's expression changed. He didn't expect the old era overlord to appear so quickly. The flames burning on the ground seemed to have met their nemesis, extinguishing right away. "It is time for us to attack. Don't let these people get close to the city." The guy carrying the huge sword raised his arms and touched the sword hilt. He held the two swords in his hands and then hollered in rage. He jumped down from the city wall. Instantly, countless close combat warriors followed closely behind. Their bodies gave off evil god aura, and many black patterns appeared on the surface of their skin. At such a moment, they didn't dare to be careless and could only use all their strength. The price was that the evil god aura became thicker and thicker. As time flowed, they would slowly be infected by the evil god aura, and from then on, they would become evil god servants. A huge battle instantly exploded. The warriors were nimble and strong. A few of them worked together to attack and defend. Along with the staff-wielding people on the city wall who attacked from afar, they actually posed a huge problem for the evil god servants. But all of them knew that this situation would last for a short period of time. Their strength to fight against evil gods was just overestimating themselves. There was no way to compare at all. As expected, not long later, the warrior holding the sword hollered in rage. A thick evil god aura spread out from his body. "Kill me, The evil god aura is infecting me. I can't take it anymore. The guy hollered towards his companions. He felt his heart beating really quickly, and there was an uncontrollable power charging about in his body. His vision became blurry like he was covered in a blood mist. In the battle, just now, he used too much power that didn't belong to him. Evil God's power was strong, but the repercussions were just too terrifying. When his companions saw those scenes, they found it hard to bear. But if they didn't kill him, their companions would become the evil God servants, and they wouldn't be the people they were familiar with anymore. Just at that moment, a dragon roar spread out from the distance. The dragon roar shook heaven and earth. Everyone raised their heads. A divine dragon swept over, and there seemed to be a person standing on the head of the divine dragon. What evil god is this? Dichio panicked. This was an evil god that he had never met before. Was today really the day that the City of Light would be destroyed? Very quickly, the god dragon appeared between the City of Light and the evil god servants. The person standing on the head of the god dragon opened his mouth. Do you know where my cousin is? I have been searching for him for a long time. Chapter 622. The people in the City of Light were stunned. They thought that an unknown evil god came, but didn't expect that he was here to find someone. Where is cousin? Zhou Zhongmao had been walking on the path to find cousin. Since he met the dragon beneath him, he went from the familiar world to another. He was really unfamiliar with this world. From then on, he stepped on the path to find cousin. Along the way, he met many monsters, but to find cousin, he didn't want to offend too many enemies. But these monsters didn't seem friendly. This made Zhou Zhongmao furious. I didn't offend them, so what did they want to do? He then beat them up such that the monsters couldn't fight back at all. He didn't come here to do anything. He knew that many people would gather here and wanted to ask if they knew where cousin was. It was tough for him to find, and he really wanted to return to cousin's embrace. Sir, now that the City of Light is being invaded by evil gods, I hope that you can help us fight against them. Dichio said hurriedly. An unknown expert appeared here, and at the same time, he was a human. If he could get his help, they might have a chance of surviving. Zhou Zhongmao asked. Then, do you know where cousin is? Cousin? Dichio was stunned and asked anxiously. What is your cousin's name? Lin Fan. My cousin is called Lin Fan. Do you know him? Zhou Zhongmao asked in anticipation. During these days, not only did he meet many monsters, but he also met many humans. But regretfully, no matter who he asked, they said that they didn't know him. He was about to despair. Ancestral dragons said, they don't know who your cousin is. This isn't the original world, but another world. The most important thing now is to find the way back. I have told you for half a year. Why don't you understand? Zhou Zhongmao ignored Zulong. To him, if not for this dragon, he wouldn't have come to this broken place. Dichio shook his head. I don't know him. Zhou Zhongmao sighed and was a little disappointed. I knew it. How would you know him? Let's go and find another place. Zulong said. Aren't you prepared to help them block these monsters? With their strength, they definitely won't be able to withstand it. Ow! There's a strong guy behind those monsters. I have to stay alive to find my cousin. Moreover, I can only sacrifice my life for my cousin. I won't sacrifice it for anyone else. Zhou Zhongmao said. That's true. Ancestral Gragon nodded. The monsters in front of him were indeed nothing, but the vague figures behind them exuded a terrifying aura. If they really fought, the outcome was hard to say. I'm sorry, I can't do anything about this. I just want to find my cousin. I don't want to ask about anything else. I wish you good luck. Zhou Zhongmao said. What else could Ancestral Gragon say? He turned around and flew into the distance. The evil god servants didn't stop Zhou Zhongmao from leaving. Their goal was to destroy the City of Light, not to confront this guy who came out of nowhere. Dichio looked at the departing Zhou Zhongmao. He wanted to say something, but many words were stuck in his throat. But immediately after, the sky was squeezed and the dimension ripped open. A terrifying power descended and smashed into the evil god servants. Rumble. An astonishing roar erupted. The ground caved in, forming a giant hole. Many evil god servants didn't even understand what was going on and were turned to dust. It was just too tragic, although Zhou Zhongmao didn't stay to help. However, he still unleashed his ultimate skill in a rather wretched manner. Then, he slipped away without looking back. Instantly, the evil gods were furious. They didn't expect that someone would dare to attack, right under their noses. "Thank you," Dichio said softly and heaved a sigh of relief. No matter what, at least Lin Fan reduced a lot of pressure on them. The warriors guarding the City of Light were all stunned. So amazing. If he was willing to stay and help, then the City of Light would definitely have hope. But unfortunately, he left. "Keep your spirits up," Dichio roared, waking up the soldiers who were in a daze. "That expert helped us wipe out many evil god servants. If we hold on, the other experts will arrive soon. No matter what, we have to hold on until then." "Yes," everyone hollered. Confidence burned in their hearts. That's right. As long as they held on until the other experts arrived, they would have a chance. The evil god servants surged over crazily. That man wielding two huge swords died in the hands of the evil god servant. He didn't want to become a monster infected by evil god energy. His companions didn't have the heart to attack him. Thus, he charged into the group of evil god servants and died together with them. A great battle with a great disparity in strength erupted. "Defend," Dichio told the close combat warriors to return. There were more and more evil god servants, and their bodies were getting bigger and bigger. If they continued to defend, then they would definitely die. A bright light exploded from the city walls and struck the evil god servants. A one-eyed giant's arms were covered in spikes, and he smashed towards the City of Light. His giant arms covered the sky, and with a loud explosion, a light barrier appeared and blocked the strike. This evil god's servant was too strong. The people on the other side of the light screen felt the earth tremble. If it weren't for the light curtain, the City of Light would have been smashed into two halves by this attack. Dichio couldn't be distracted. He was restricting the old era ruler, and the book in his hand shone brightly. Damn blood food, damn it. The old era ruler was furious. He was unable to take down the City of Light, and that made him feel humiliated. Numerous evil god servants smashed the light barrier. The light barrier shook and ripples spread out. Based on the attacks, who knew how long they could last for? He just hoped that they could last until they arrived. After a long while, Dichio's face turned ashen white. At the same time, the evil god energy wrapped around his body became thicker. He borrowed too much of the evil god's power, and if this continued, he would be totally infected. If he was infected, then the City of Light would have no hope at all. Kacha! Cracks appeared on the light barrier. The sound was really crisp. Not good. Dichio was shocked, and his expression changed. Under the concentrated attacks of the evil god servants, was it really going to shatter? At that moment, everyone raised their heads in terror. They felt like there was no more hope. As long as the light barrier shattered, evil gods would surge in, and they would be ripped apart by the evil god servants. They wouldn't even have a complete corpse left. Dichio, don't panic. I am here. Just at that moment, a voice spread from the sky. Dichio was delighted. That voice belonged to Mo Fu. He didn't expect Mo Fu to rush over so quickly. He was just too quick. Moments later, Lin Fan walked out from the dimension with Mo Fu in his hand. Old ancestor Xiao frowned. This scene made him recall something. "I made it in time," Lin Fan said. Mo Fu was too slow. Based on his speed, he would probably need a period of time. But one had to say that the distance was really far. "All of you stop," Lin Fan hollered. His voice turned into a sound wave that swept forwards. When the evil god servants heard that, their hearts shook like they were being suppressed by something. Mo Fu and Lin Fan landed on the city wall. "Dichio, we aren't late, right?" Mo Fu patted Dichio's shoulder and smiled. If he came alone, he would definitely pee his pants facing such a scene. However, he had two experts by his side, but the situation was different. Dichio forced a smile. "We aren't late. If we were slightly later, you would only be able to see my corpse." He then looked towards Lin Fan and old ancestor Xiao and asked curiously, These two are. Mo Fu smiled. Don't worry, they're the helpers I invited. With them here, City of Light will be fine. Dichio was shocked like he didn't dare to believe it. The situation they were facing wasn't so simple. How could just two helpers solve it? Even if people from the 12 cities were here, they didn't have much of a chance. Sect Leader Lin, look over there. Many evil gods have come. Old Ancestor Shao pointed into the distance. Although the evil gods didn't appear in their main bodies. However, there were many faintly discernible gigantic silhouettes, as if there were many mountains there. We're going to be rich. Lin Fan looked at those scenes, and his eyes lit up. When had he ever seen such a scene? It was just too shocking. Don't be rash. Let me go first. Lin Fan raised his hand and told Old Ancestor Shao to wait here. He would leave the rest to him. Old Ancestor Shao said, How can I do that? Let's do it together. To Lin Fan, how could he let Old Ancestor Shao attack? At least before he gained a wave of rage points, he definitely wouldn't let Old Ancestor Shao join in. Wait a moment, I'll go talk to them. Lin Fan didn't wait for Old Ancestor Shao to reply and just walked forwards. Dichio was stunned as he looked at Lin Fan and Old Ancestor Shao. What was going on with the two of them? He understood what they were saying, but he couldn't understand what they meant. It was like they were saying, I want to fight one-on-one. No, they had to fight together. That was roughly what they meant. Isn't this a little too arrogant? Lin Fan looked at the black patch of evil god servants and smiled. A bunch of scum. What are all of you doing? The evil god servants raised their heads and looked at Lin Fan. There was no reaction at all. There weren't even any rage points. You small, evil god servants, now that I am here, do you still dare to be arrogant? All of you kneel down and look up to your god. Lin Fan hollered. A terrifying aura exploded out. Pung, pung. The aura was too terrifying. Numerous evil god servants suffered from the unbearable pressure. The ground cracked, and they knelt to the ground. To them, it was like their bodies were carrying an unimaginable weight. Rage points plus 999. Rage points plus 999. Furious roars reverberated throughout the area. Lin Fan's smile became wider and wider. Gaining rage points was just so simple. Simple and direct. That was the most useful thing. Chapter 623. What do you want to do? Old Ancestor Shao looked at Lin Fan in shock. Evil god servants had no sense of shame, so what was the point of insulting them? If it was him, there wouldn't be so much nonsense, and he would just attack. Mo Fu. Where did you find such an expert? Dichio was stunned. This was just too terrifying. The evil god servants who were hard to deal with actually all knelt down under his aura. What kind of terrifying power was that? Mo Fu's eyes opened wide. Not only was Dichio stunned, but even he himself was stunned. He quickly reacted and said calmly, Kiki, I met them coincidentally. I told you not to worry. As long as they are here, the evil gods won't be able to do anything. Those warriors standing on the city wall opened their mouths wide. Their mouths were agape, and they were all stunned by the scene in front of them. They had never expected that someone could actually be so terrifying. Lin Fan sensed their respectful and shocked gazes, but he didn't care much about it. That was normal. How could such an outstanding person like him not be worshipped by others? As evil god servants, you only have this little bit of strength. Lin Fan continued to talk. Large amounts of rage points struck him, making him feel really good. He felt like his life was about to reach the peak. The evil god's servants hollered in rage. They wanted to climb up, but under this terrifying aura, they couldn't even move a finger. Suddenly, the evil gods hiding in the distance attacked. A terrifying aura swept over from the distance. But to Lin Fan, even if it was an evil god, it depended on what kind of evil god it was. Lin Fan scoffed coldly. His aura shook and he formed a physical fist. He punched forwards and the chaotic, illusionary land in the distance exploded. Furious roars could be heard coming from there. It was obvious that the evil gods were infuriated by Lin Fan's actions. Sect Leader Lin, we agreed to do it together. Don't take it all for yourself. Old Ancestor Shao hurried over. Last time, They took one each, and it was a huge loss. His luck was just too bad. The second-class evil gods that kept appearing made him feel really helpless. Calm down, this is just the beginning. Do you still suspect that I will swallow all of them? Lin Fan was helpless. It is hard to say. Old ancestor Xiao understood Lin Fan. So, how could he not know what kind of person he was? If he really believed the other party's words, then he would really be seeing a ghost. At that moment, Lin Fan didn't stop old ancestor Xiao from helping. He only needed rage points. Nothing else mattered. Lowly blood food, you're courting death. Some evil gods hollered in rage. The furious sound waves were like sharp blades that swept forwards. Some of the evil god's servants were instantly sliced into pieces in front of the sharp sound waves. Stop putting on an act. Come out and let this sect leader see just how strong you are. Lin Fan wasn't afraid at all. He didn't sense any terrifying aura, which meant that none of the evil gods were in the top 10. If evil god Postline descends, he and old ancestor Xiao needed to flee. Otherwise, he might very well die here. Immediately after, huge figures appeared in the distance. The evil gods used their true bodies to descend. There are a lot of them. Old ancestor Xiao looked carefully and confirmed the number. There were first-class evil gods and also second-class evil gods. It was enough for Lin Fan and him to reap a huge harvest. Sect leader Lin, don't bother about who. Whoever kills them belongs to whom. What do you think? Old ancestor Xiao said. Lin Fan smiled. Aren't they going to come one by one? When old ancestor Xiao heard this, his expression changed. What were they going to do? Although he didn't believe that his luck would be so bad, no matter what, he didn't want to try. If he was really that bad, then what should he do? Let's not do that. Old ancestor Xiao said and then exclaimed, Sect leader Lin, you are cheating. You haven't even started. He didn't expect sect leader Lin to be so quick. He actually charged towards the evil gods. He didn't hesitate and chased right away. How is it? The helpers I invited are strong enough, right? Mo Fu said. At the same time, he was really envious. If he had such strength, maybe everything would be different. Di Chio was stunned. He had never experienced such a scene. Who are they? To Di Chio, these two experts definitely weren't from this world. If they didn't borrow the power of evil gods, they wouldn't be able to become so strong. That is sect leader Lin Fan. He came from another blood food world, but because there was an expert like sect leader Lin, that place wasn't occupied. Mo Fu said, if only they had such a powerhouse here in the past. The result would naturally be very different from the current situation. Lin Fan. When Di Chio heard this name, he was stunned. Just now, he heard someone mention this name. What? Mo Fu asked curiously. Di Chio said, before all of you came, a young man appeared and he was really strong. He said that he was looking for cousin and his cousin's name was Lin Fan. I don't know if they are the same person. Mo Fu was stunned. He thought about it and felt like they weren't the same person. Maybe after this ended, he could ask sect leader Lin. At that moment, screams spread from the distance. Lin Fan and old ancestor Xiao were like wolves that entered a herd of sheep. You second-class evil god scram. I don't have time to play with you. Old ancestor Xiao kicked the second-class evil god to the side. He hollered in rage and pounced at the first-class evil god in front of him. This was the first-class 38 evil god Haituda. His body was like a turtle, and he had a tough outer shell. His shell was covered in tentacles. You are asking to die. Evil god Haituda raged. He didn't expect that the small blood food would actually dare to attack him. Although old ancestor Zhao's strength was much weaker, he had no problem dealing with the first-class 38 evil gods. Lie down for this seat. Old ancestor Xiao slapped, and thick power pressed forwards. With a pung, evil god Haituda's body exploded. Old ancestor Xiao grabbed with his fingers, and the blood pearl was in his hands. The first one. He was delighted. As long as he continued to kill, the missing Dao pattern laws would return. But when he looked towards Lin Fan, he couldn't help but exclaim, Beast! He didn't expect Lin Fan to be even more vicious and greedy than him. He grabbed an evil god and smashed toward the other evil god. Then he killed both of them. He was even faster than him. Sect leader Lin slowed down. Can you not be so quick? Old ancestor, Shao hollered. Lin Fan replied, "You are the one who is slow." On the city wall, Dichio was stunned as he looked at the scenes in the distance. He turned his head and was stunned. Mo Fu, are those the evil gods that forced us to such a desperate situation? Ah. Mo Fu was stunned and then said, "It should be." He was a little lost. Those evil gods that occupied their world and treated them as blood food were being beaten up. Occasionally, there would be screams. What they couldn't accept was that Lin Fan and old ancestor Shao beat up the evil gods while scolding one another. One couldn't tell that they cared about the evil gods at all. Suddenly, a voice spread out from the distance. "Cousin," Zhou Zhongmao hollered. His voice was filled with excitement and disbelief. Eh. When Lin Fan heard that voice, his expression changed. He stopped what he was doing. He opened his eyes wide and looked into the distance. When he saw that person, he was sure that he didn't see wrongly. That was really his cousin who disappeared for half a year. "Cousin, let me help you." Zhou Zhongmao hollered and joined the battlefield right away. Originally, he had really left. But on the way, he thought of the great things his cousin had done for the people. As his cousin, how could he not save him? So after hesitating for a moment, he immediately turned back. But when he got close, he realized that the aura was really familiar. It was cousin's aura. He sped up and attacked eagerly. When he saw that familiar person, Zhou Zhongmao's tears flowed down uncontrollably. Wah! He finally found cousin. At that moment, he understood that maybe this was the arrangement of the heavens. If he didn't return, then he would have missed his cousin. "Cousin, kill these evil gods and take out the blood pearls. Once this ends, we will have a good chat." Lin Fan said. "Okay, cousin." Zhou Zhongmao said. Lin Fan looked at Zhu Long and recognized him right away. Wasn't that the Zhao family dragon? Why was he with cousin? No wonder. Since that battle, the dragon had disappeared. Who knew that he was with cousin? It seemed like cousin had many fortuitous encounters during this period of time. When old ancestor Shao saw that, he exclaimed, "Sect leader Lin, you are too despicable. I am alone." At that moment, old ancestor Shao felt a gaze filled with killing intent striking him. Zhou Zhongmao opened his eyes wide and stared right at old ancestor Shao. This fellow actually said that cousin was despicable. Damn, as long as cousin gave an order, he wouldn't hesitate to charge up and beat him up. "Don't look at me like that. I am familiar with your cousin," old ancestor Shao said. Right when he stopped, old ancestor Shao noticed that Lin Fan killed 2 more evil gods. This made him anxious. How could such a shameless thing happen? Lin Fan realized that cousin was really strong. He actually reached Dao Realm Stage 7. Actually, what he didn't know was that Zhou Zhongmao was really frightened by his own strength. Although during the period when cousin was separated, he had been working hard to cultivate. But even if he cultivated, his strength couldn't suddenly increase so much that he was a little afraid. In the first half a year, his strength increased to Dao Realm Stage 6 for no reason. This made Zhou Zhongmao lose confidence in cultivation. It was pointless. He couldn't feel the feeling of breaking through at all. He met this dragon, and in this half a year, his cultivation reached Dao Realm Stage 7 in the first half of the year. At that moment, old ancestor Shao panicked. SH*T. What a SH*T. How could he compare to the 2 of them working together? But luckily, this newcomer was average and couldn't insta-kill evil gods like them. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to play. Chapter 6:24. No, there is a problem here. Old ancestor Shao realized that things weren't as he thought. But his hands didn't stop, and he was really quick. One evil god was exploded by him. What is the problem? Lin Fan asked. Old ancestor Shao was really cunning. He said that there was a problem, but he didn't stop. Who was he trying to con? Old ancestor Shao kicked a second-class evil god away. Sect leader Lin, I feel like these evil gods are asking to die. They know that they aren't our match, but not only did they not flee, they even surged over. They are asking to die. Then, Lin Fan asked. Old ancestor Shao shook his head and said solemnly, I don't know. I don't understand why they're doing that. It doesn't matter if you don't understand. Don't you feel good killing them now? Lin Fan realized that people were just too much. They killed so many evil gods that they cried out in pain. They took many blood pearls, and they actually said that there was a problem with them. One couldn't be so overboard, right? That's true. Old ancestor Xiao nodded. Sect leader Lin's words made sense. The situation did feel good. As for what the problem was, that was just his guess. Very quickly, the evil gods were all killed by them. The scenes were shocking. One could say that it made one panic. Mo Fu, do you think I am in a dream? Di Chio asked in a daze. From the beginning to the end, he had seen the number of evil gods continuously decrease. His heart had gone from a huge wave to a calm state. No one could understand what kind of change had occurred to his mentality. This isn't a dream, but reality, Mo Fu said. He understood why Di Chio didn't dare to believe it. After all, they were evil gods. They suppressed them so badly that they couldn't fight back. But now, those evil gods were like a bunch of ants. They were killed so badly that they couldn't fight back at all. Pung! Lin Fan punched, and the power pierced through him. The last evil god died with reluctance. It is over. He clenched his hand into a fist and held the bead of flesh in his hand. Old ancestor Xiao wanted to continue searching for evil gods, but after looking around, he realized that there were no more to kill. It was a pity. He looked at Lin Fan with a bitter gaze. Cousin, what are these things for? Zhou Mao passed the blood pearls to Lin Fan. There weren't many, just 4. To be able to kill 4 evil gods in the hands of 2 bandits was already a decent thing. It wasn't easy. I'll tell you later. Lin Fan kept the 4 beads happily. He then looked at old ancestor Xiao and smiled. Your luck is not bad. There are actually 12 of them, and 5 of them are from first-class evil gods. Old ancestor Xiao wanted to kill Lin Fan. Damn, don't go too far. There are so many first-class evil gods, and he only managed to snatch 5. It was really embarrassing. He was already trying his best, but he couldn't snatch it away. Sect leader Lin, those words don't mean much. Old ancestor Xiao sighed. Haha, I was just joking. Don't take it to heart. You didn't make this trip in vain after getting so much. Lin Fan said. The 3 of them landed on the city wall. The people of the City of Light looked at him with admiration. They still couldn't believe what was happening in front of them. It was too scary. Even if they personally witnessed it, they were still stunned. Thank you. Di Chio walked forwards and thanked him sincerely. If it wasn't for the fact that people didn't kneel, he would have knelt down and kowtowed to Lin Fan. It is just a small matter, Lin Fan said calmly. His calmness made everyone worship him once more. An expert. This was a true expert. Old ancestor Xiao said, I told you that borrowing evil god power isn't reliable. If not for us coming to help, this place would have been occupied by evil gods. It's true that you have to rely on your own cultivation to gain power. Di Chio sighed. You're right, but we really have no other choice. When the evil god first ascended, we had no way to stop him. In our most desperate moments, the evil god lent us power, allowing us to survive. This is already our fortune. Old ancestor Xiao, don't say that without thinking. Some things can't be achieved just because you think about it. Lin Fan said. Actually, truthfully, his thoughts were the same as old ancestor Xiao. But thinking about it, if the situation didn't allow it, what else could he do? Sect leader Lin, truthfully, we are here today, but we can't be here every single time. Now that the evil gods that lent them power didn't appear, it means that they have totally given up on them. If they continue to stay here, they will just die. Old ancestor Xiao said, based on what I see, it is best for the 12 cities to leave this place. Although Lin Fan loved to go against old ancestor Xiao, but this fellow's words made sense. That was indeed the case. If this continued, they wouldn't be able to defend the 12 cities. Hayes, Di Chio and Mo Fu both sighed heavily to express how helpless they were. If they left, where could they go? The feeling of leaving home wasn't good. It was like a stray dog hiding. If they could become stronger, how good would that be? Just at that moment, voices spread from the distance. Di Chio, we are here. Hold on. The rest of the experts from the Holy City came. They came in a hurry, but the journey was long. With their strength, it was impossible for them to arrive instantly. Even Lin Fan and the others had to fly for a period of time before arriving. They were prepared to die together with the evil gods. Although they panicked, they couldn't retreat from some things. Where are the evil gods? But when they arrived and were prepared to fight the evil gods, they realized that there were no evil gods. The ground in the distance was riddled with holes like an intense battle had happened. You really came at the right time. Lin Fan took a look and then looked at Mo Fu and Di Chio. Think about it. Tell Mo Fu to inform me that this place isn't a place you can stay in. Lin Fan didn't stay and brought Cousin and the others to leave. You city. Zhou Zhongmao's return made Lin Wani really happy. He didn't expect this kid to not only be alive, but also raise his cultivation to such a high level. He really didn't expect that. At the same time, what Lin Wani didn't expect was that Zhou Zhongmao was actually with the Zhao family dragon. Cousin, I was wondering why I couldn't find you. So, I was in another world. Zhou Zhongmao was in a good mood. His biggest wish during this period of time was to find Cousin. Other things weren't important to him at all. How did you get there? Lin Fan asked. Zhou Zhongmao scratched his head. Cousin, I don't know either. Back then, when I met the old dragon, I fought with him. At that time, I couldn't beat him at all, but suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck down. When I woke up, I was already there. To Lin Fan, maybe this was transmigration. Lightning split open the dimension and built a tunnel. Cousin, an ancestral dragon, headed there. It is okay. It is good that you are back. During this period of time, when you weren't here, I had to do everything myself. Am I so tired? Lin Fan said. In the past, when Cousin was by his side, he didn't need to do anything to beat people up. He just needed to gaze, and Cousin would understand. Zhou Zhongmao blamed himself and showed a sad expression. Cousin, I told you. Cousin, you have become thinner. You aren't as fat as before. Lin Fan was helpless and felt that Cousin was a little fake. How was he thinner? He was much fatter than before. Oh, right, I forgot to tell you something. Your cousin, I am married. Lin Fan said. Zhou Zhongmao was shocked, and then he was delighted. Cousin, I have a sister-in-law. Then, do I have a nephew? Not so fast, wait. Lin Fan said. Old ancestor Xiao felt like he didn't fit in with them. Sect leader Lin, since that is the case, then I will leave first. Okay, I won't send you off. Lin Fan waved his hands casually like he was sending someone away. This made old ancestor Xiao a little angry. No matter what, he was a guest. So couldn't he be more polite? Old ancestor Xiao cursed in his heart. He didn't want to say a single word. He turned around and left. Just at that moment, Go Zi carried the freshly cooked food and walked in. Huh? Old ancestor Zhao's nose twitched, and he smelled a familiar scent. Just as he raised his leg, he slowly landed back on the spot. He turned around and said, Sect leader Lin, I have something to talk to you about, so I won't leave for now. Old ancestor Xiao, why are you so fake? If you want to stay, then just say it. It isn't like I won't let you eat. How could Lin Fan not see through his intentions? From head to toe, he saw through it right away. He didn't need to think much at all. Old ancestor Xiao felt a little awkward. Sect leader Lin was too direct. Couldn't he give him some face? Cough, cough. Lin Wani told Lin Fan to pay attention to his image. No matter what, old ancestor Xiao was an ancient person and he had to give him face. To Lin Fan, Cousin's return was a joyous matter and it was worth celebrating. Deep Abyss. A bunch of evil gods revived. They didn't shout and they weren't angry. They just looked at one another and left in an orderly manner. To them, the failure to attack City of Light wasn't something worth being angry about. In the depths, Vengeance Evil God Ji asked, what is all this for? When he saw Lin Fan appear, his body shuddered. Rage burned in his heart, and he really wanted to charge out to fight Lin Fan. But he knew that with his current strength, he was no match for Lin Fan. Evil God Postline wouldn't let him do that. You don't have to understand all this now. In the future, you will know why. It is easy to kill them, but there is no need. They are still useful. Postline said slowly. Shortly after, Postline looked to the side. There were still scenes there. Amongst the corpses of numerous evil gods and servants, a black shadow was swallowing them. Chapter 625. What a despicable fellow. Postline knew who that was. Evil God Masaki, an evil god who was on the same level as him. However, Masaki was too greedy. He didn't know what was good for him and wanted to seize the deity positions of the ancient gods and the three-pillar gods. He was simply overestimating himself and seeking death. He knew that Masaki was swallowing the evil god's flesh and blood to recover his strength. But it didn't matter. Masaki was still of great use to Postline, so he would let this lowly fellow live in his line of sight. G looked toward Postline. He was really mysterious. He knew that Lin Fan was using many people and he should be a chess piece in his hands. But it didn't matter. As long as he could take revenge, everything was worth it. I've already become an evil god. So what can I do now? G asked. It was good to become an evil god. The evil god body contained terrifying potential. At the same time, the embrace of the abyss made him feel like he was undying. Even if he was killed, he could revive like the other evil gods in the abyss. Postline said slowly, "Wait, you are an evil god, but you are still too weak. Cultivate in the abyss." G didn't say anything. The only thing he could do now was to cultivate. He would absorb the energy in the abyss to strengthen himself. Some swampland. What kind of monster are you? A three-headed evil god was stepped on and cried out in pain. He was a monster, but he called him a monster. Pucci. One of the evil god's heads was cruelly ripped off, and then the sound of chewing spread out. It tastes delicious. Monster Emperor's expression turned maniacal. His mouth was filled with sharp teeth, and a head was placed in. Monster Emperor's body changed, and he actually grew a tail. The tail was covered in black scales, and there was a hammer-like meatball at the end. Your evil god flesh and blood is of great help to me. Ultimate form, I need to grow to the ultimate form. Monster Emperor quickly used the bug controlling technique. The bugs in his body broke down the flesh and blood that he swallowed. If one stuck their head in, they would notice that his stomach was a wormhole. Numerous bugs split up and moved in an orderly manner. Damn it, the evil god roared angrily. This monster had already swallowed him 3 times, and each time he had swallowed him in a bloody manner. That experience was the most unbearable for the evil god. Monster Emperor raised his leg and stepped on the evil god's stomach. He grabbed the evil god's leg and ripped it apart. Rip! Ah! Evil god cried out in pain. He wanted to struggle, but in front of him, he couldn't move at all. Ha! Monster Emperor laughed maniacally, and his eyes were slowly covered by red patterns. Pucci! Pucci! The sound of chewing was ear-piercing. Gradually, evil god's aura became weaker and weaker. In the end, he died completely. His corpse became smaller and smaller until there were no bones left. In the end, all that was left was a pool of blood that stained the ground. A perfect form. Only by swallowing perfect bodies can one grow to a satisfactory state. Monster Emperor muttered to himself. Boo! Monster Emperor sensed a familiar aura and hollered in rage. A black shadow appeared. As expected from Sir Monster Emperor, evil god's flesh and blood actually became your nourishment. Evil god Masaki appeared. He looked calm, but he was actually panicking. He was panicking deep down. He didn't expect that one day, evil gods would actually become food for others. Monster Emperor looked at him coldly. Sir Monster Emperor, please don't look at me like that. I have no ill intentions towards you. I just want to know whether or not you are the descendant of some evil god. Evil god Masaki asked. He was suspicious about that. After all, not everyone could eat the evil god's flesh and blood. Suddenly, evil god Masaki's expression changed. Monster Emperor opened his mouth and formed a black hole. A terrifying suction force exploded, and everything around was sucked in. What do you want to do? Evil god Masaki was shocked and wanted to leave. But he underestimated Monster Emperor's ability. Evil god Masaki flew towards Monster Emperor uncontrollably. Pata! Monster Emperor grabbed Masaki and stared at him with a pair of eyes that were covered in blood patterns. The aura from your body is familiar. It is the same as the flesh and blood that I ate. Monster Emperor, what do you want to do? I have no ill intentions towards you. I am here to help you. You, damn, Kacha. Monster Emperor stuffed Masaki into his mouth and tore at him. Pooey. After biting for a period of time, Monster Emperor spat him out. The taste wasn't right. This black shadow wasn't Masaki's main body. His main body was still in the statue, and this black shadow was just a second body formed from the evil god's aura. Naturally, it was different from other evil gods. Monster Emperor took in a deep breath and searched for a familiar aura. But unfortunately, there was no familiar aura. Where is the deep abyss? He was searching for the deep abyss. This was what he found out from the evil god. The evil god that he swallowed roared in rage before he died. He would revive in the deep abyss and come back to take revenge on him. In the end, that evil god did come to take revenge on him. But unfortunately, he was still swallowed by Monster Emperor. Monster Emperor knew about the deep abyss. If he could find it, he would be able to meet more evil gods. That was what Monster Emperor wanted to happen. But what a waste. Although he knew about the deep abyss, he didn't know where it was. Evil god Masaki's hiding place. Damn, that damn thing. You actually dare to do that to me. Masaki hollered in rage. King Wutong, who was guarding at the side, sensed the rage of the evil god and shivered. You piece of trash, you are actually so useless after becoming the noble evil god's slave. I really don't know why he chose you. Maybe because he had nowhere to vent the rage in his heart. He could only use King Wudong as a bucket to vent all his rage on King Wudong. What is going on with Monster Emperor? Masaki was really confused. Monster Emperor was different from the humans he had met. Maybe he wasn't a human. Swallowing the evil god's flesh and blood was just crazy. Or rather, one could say that it was cruel. You city. This dish is delicious. Old ancestor Xiao seemed like he was obsessed with braised carp. He didn't touch the other dishes and just stare at this dish. Old ancestor Xiao, I can let you eat for free this time, but next time you'll have to pay. Lin Fan said. Hey, Sec Leader Lin, why are you so stingy? Old ancestor Xiao was helpless. It was just too difficult to take advantage of this person. Zhou Zhongmao stared at old ancestor Xiao in rage. This person was so annoying, he actually said that his cousin was stingy. If cousin looked at him, he would flip the table and fight him to the death. But his cousin's wife was at the side, and he had to be well-behaved. He couldn't let his cousin have a bad impression of him. Fan, or what is the situation with the evil gods? Lin Wani asked. Lin Fan said, Father, it is hard to say. Evil god has a peak expert, and he is really strong. Old ancestor Xiao and I are no match for him. If he descends to our side, we can only flee. That was evil god Postline. We fought in the past, and he was really strong and terrifying. He was the only human form evil god out of all of them. Old ancestor Xiao recalled the past, and his heart was filled with fear. In the past, I and 4 other Dao Realm Stage 9 experts were able to fight him to a draw. To old ancestor Xiao, he could accept that evil gods didn't die. The only thing he couldn't accept was that the peak evil god expert was just too strong. So strong? Lin Wani was shocked. He hadn't fought evil gods before, and what he knew about them came from Lin Fan and old ancestor Xiao. Old ancestor Xiao said that peak evil gods needed several Dao Realm Stage 9 experts to be able to fight to a draw. That was a little unacceptable. Old ancestor Xiao stopped his chopsticks and said solemnly, but this isn't the strongest. The strongest belong to the ancient god and the 3 pillar gods. Those few evil gods are the truly terrifying ones. Our Dao Realm Stage 9 experts suppressed the evil gods in terms of numbers, but we still suffered heavy casualties. It was all caused by the ancient god and the 3 pillar gods. If not for the Dao pattern laws gathering together to suppress them, this world would have become the evil god's blood food world. To old ancestor Xiao, now that the evil gods were being killed by them without any ability to fight back, he knew that that was because he hadn't faced the truly terrifying evil gods. Lin Wani's expression was solemn. He thought that he could enjoy life after dealing with the Alliance, but who knew that it would involve those evil gods? Moreover, They were even more terrifying than the Alliance. They weren't even at Tao Realm Stage 9. If they faced those peak evil gods, how could they fight back? Old Ancestor Shao said, but don't worry too much. Those peak evil gods didn't come out, which means that they have faced some problems. During this period of time, the only thing we can do is raise our cultivation. He then looked towards Lin Fan. Sect Leader Lin, I understand about the 4 alliances. If we face those sect leaders, I hope that we can place down our conflicts and unite together. After all, one person can't deal with evil gods. Lin Fan smiled. Old Ancestor Shao, you are here to persuade us. I always believed in one thing. If one person can't solve something, it isn't because the matter is too difficult, but because one is too weak. When I dealt with the 4 alliances, some people said that I was asking to die, but the outcome was obvious. I crushed the 4 alliances alone. So, there's nothing a person can't solve. Only one is too weak. Old Ancestor Shao looked at Lin Fan. He had many things he wanted to say, but he didn't know what to say. Forget it. Why was he thinking so much? He wanted to say something more serious, but who knew that the kid didn't care at all? Was the food not good, or was he not hungry? What was the point of saying so much? P.S. Follow my Weibo, Yuwen Xinfeng. I'm trying to reach 1,000 followers. As long as I reach the target, I will show you how to pick up soap. Chapter 626. Delicious. Old Ancestor Shao burped. He was in a good mood. This was the taste. Go Zi's braised carp was perfect. If Go Zi wasn't Lin Fan's man, he wanted to trick Go Zi back. He was willing to take him as a disciple and teach him everything as long as Go Zi cooked for him. What a waste. He had no choice. Sect Leader Lin, although I say too much and you will think that I am annoying, there are some things that I have to say. Consider what I said. Actually, there's a need for that. Old Ancestor Zhao's thoughts were really simple. He wanted to unite the sect leaders of the 4 alliances. After saying all this, Old Ancestor Shao cupped his fists and was prepared to leave. He wanted to return to Insect Valley. After all, he had decent gains in Evil God Blood Food World. After Lin Wani heard what Old Ancestor Shao said, he followed out worriedly. He wanted to have a good chat with Old Ancestor Shao and talk about Evil God matters. He knew that Fan was amazing, but he couldn't be careless about some things. Otherwise, there would be endless problems. Deep Abyss. Evil gods revived. To them, being killed by small blood food was an embarrassing matter. Some evil gods were targeted by Monster Emperor. The result could be said to be very tragic. It could no longer be described with words. As long as they left the abyss, it would not take long for them to be found by the other party. Then, they would be devoured by the other party in pain. A living being that can swallow evil god flesh and blood? Evil God Postline frowned and was really confused. He had never seen someone that could swallow evil god flesh and blood. Evil God was hugged by the abyss and had the aura of the abyss. This situation made him really interested in Monster Emperor. He wanted to know what was so special about such a living being. I can't find any familiar aura. Monster Emperor walked around the blood food world and followed the smell of evil gods to find delicious meat. He was able to extract different things from the meat. It was something that was extremely lethal to him. But after the bug controlling techniques modifications, not only did the aura not affect him, but it even helped his body evolve. A perfect body. He felt that he was on the path of a perfect body. Suddenly, Monster Emperor's expression tensed up and his hair stood on end. He felt like the surrounding air had become sticky. Ooh! Monster Emperor hollered, and his voice became a little hoarse. The heavy tail heavily smashed against the ground, causing the ground to crack and many cracks to appear. A simple attack could cause such a scene. It was truly terrifying. Instantly, the dimension in front of Monster Emperor ripped open and a person slowly walked out. It was really blurry and one couldn't see what it looked like, but the aura it gave off made Monster Emperor shiver. You're quite interesting. When Postline saw Monster Emperor's shape, he was shocked. It was as if he had seen something that he didn't expect. You give off Evil God aura and also Deep Abyss aura. Are you the Monster Emperor who swallowed evil gods recently? Your actions are truly audacious. Postline was really interested in Monster Emperor. His eyes locked on a Monster Emperor's tail. That was the place where the Abyss aura was the strongest. Was it because he swallowed too much evil god flesh and blood? Evil god Postline was a top evil god and was really knowledgeable. But he had never faced such a situation before. He didn't even know how he did it. Monster Emperor looked at him warily and sniffed. He smelled something that captivated him. Those evil gods he faced couldn't compare to this one. He really wanted to swallow him, but it was too difficult. The light in your eyes tells me that you want to swallow me, right? Evil god Postline smiled and asked. He hadn't faced such a living being in a long time. He wanted to swallow him. What a great joke. Monster Emperor squinted his eyes. He did have such a thought, but he knew that the situation would be tough. This evil god was different from those he had faced before. Right, your flesh and blood are more delicious than those. I really want to swallow you. Monster Emperor smiled. Even if he knew that he couldn't beat him, his flesh and blood made him a little crazy. Evil god Postline laughed and then retracted his smile. I appeared here because I am really interested in you. Follow me later and let me study you. What is going on with you? Pung. Just at that moment, Monster Emperor moved. When he appeared once more, he was in front of Postline. His giant tail swung. Rip, it was really strong and the dimension was ripped apart. If an ordinary expert were to face such a terrifying attack, they would probably be blasted into pieces. Pata. Not bad. You're really strong and you're really quick. Evil god Postline raised his hand and easily grabbed Monster Emperor's tail. A look of disdain appeared on his face. He didn't expect his brain to be so bad. Couldn't he see the difference in strength? I want your flesh and blood. Monster Emperor shouted greedily. The scales on his tail split open and a mouth filled with sharp teeth appeared to rip his flesh and blood. With a poochie, a piece of flesh was ripped off. Damn thing. Evil god Postline was furious. He didn't expect that Lin Fan would actually dare to hurt him. Rage exploded, and the dimension shook like it was about to collapse at any moment. Monster Emperor swallowed the flesh, and with a ripping sound, his giant tail broke. He didn't even turn his head and ran into the distance. He knew that he wasn't his match, and he couldn't even take a few moves. To be able to rip off a piece of flesh was already a decent thing. If other evil gods saw such scenes, they would be so terrified that their bodies would tremble. This was evil god Postline, the top evil god. Such a small living being actually ripped off a piece of flesh. To evil gods, this was an unbearable insult. Run? Let's see how you run. Postline hollered in rage. His voice turned into a shockwave that swept forwards. Kacha, the dimension collapsed. To Monster Emperor, he felt like his body was wrapped up by some mysterious power. Kacha! Kacha! The sound of bones breaking. Many cracks appeared on Monster Emperor's body, and fresh blood flowed out like a flood. Monster Emperor hollered. The power hidden in his body was completely stimulated to resist the pressure. But in front of evil god Postline, he was just too weak. Stop resisting. You are as small as an ant in my eyes. Evil god Postline said coldly. His rage had reached its peak. That piece of flesh had already recovered, but to him, this was something that he couldn't accept. Monster Emperor was in a frenzy. He bit off his flesh and felt that his body was filled with power. No matter how many evil gods he ate, they couldn't compare to this piece of flesh. At that moment, Monster Emperor hollered. Numerous bugs swept out from his body and formed a bug barrier. Numerous bugs exploded under this terrifying aura, but when they dissipated, more would fly out from his body. You overestimate yourself. Evil god Postline's voice was dark and sunken. His eyes gave off a cold glow. It was basically impossible for Monster Emperor to escape from his hands. Suddenly, something that shocked evil god Postline happened. He didn't expect Monster Emperor to be hiding so much. The bugs in Monster Emperor's body gathered together, and a destructive power gathered. It exploded out, and the entire area was smashed apart. Monster Emperor's body slowly broke down. Shio. The pitch-black bugs attacked in all directions. Some of them entered the void torrent, while others were directly crushed by the terrifying might. This evil god postline was shocked. He was actually unable to control Monster Emperor. It was as if Monster Emperor had disappeared into thin air. Damn thing. He didn't expect that Monster Emperor would actually escape from his hands. If he didn't leave more power in the abyss, how could he have escaped? But this also made him more and more interested in Monster Emperor. He could see that. Monster Emperor was turning into an evil god, but the change wasn't complete. This was something that he had never seen before. To become an evil god, one had to be embraced by the abyss, after being washed by the abyss energy. But he didn't. He didn't understand what was going on. In the distance, in a place that no one knew, the dimension ripped open. A ball of black meat fell from the dimension and landed on the ground. The meat was moving. At the same time, there were many weird bugs crawling on it. As time went on, the meat swelled like it was growing. Slowly, breathing sound spread out. The evil god aura in the air surged into the meat and formed a whirlpool. Kacha! Kacha! Monster Emperor's body appeared. What is going on? Monster Emperor looked at his body. He gave up on his physical body and let the bugs bring his source away. He thought that would take a long time for him to recover, but who knew that the evil god aura in the air was like a huge supplement? It helped him recover in the shortest time. Monster Emperor's face was ashen white and his aura was a little weak, but there were no other problems. He was in deep thought. He didn't understand the changes in his body. If not for evil god Postline suppressing him to such a stage, he might not have noticed what was happening to his body. As expected, only such an evil god can give me such a huge change. No matter what, I have to eat him. Monster Emperor's eyes shone with madness. Even if he knew that he wasn't as strong as him, he still couldn't stop that crazy thought in his heart. Hee, I have remembered the taste. After meeting evil god Postline, Monster Emperor knew what he was going to pursue. P.S. Marriage is over. Today, I will say goodbye to my university brothers, and tomorrow I will start to write. Chapter 6:27. After Monster Emperor came to this mysterious world, he couldn't bear to leave. These evil gods were of great help to him. They could allow his body to reach a perfect state. To snatch food from the mouth of a tiger, to rip off a piece of flesh from the enemy's arm was a really risky thing. If he didn't have some skills, he would have died long ago. But this piece of meat made Monster Emperor feel how terrifying a true evil god was. After he split it up, it helped him a lot. It was shockingly terrifying. Restricted Oceanii. A bunch of people who had disappeared for a long time appeared. They were the sect leaders of the Four Alliances. Since the restricted Ocean's stone gate was shattered and numerous tentacles flew out, they fled in all directions in fear. They were filled with despair. They smashed for half a year, and such a thing appeared? If they knew that this was the case, they wouldn't have done such a stupid thing, even if they were beaten to death. Is what that fellow said true? Monster God Mountain Old Ancestor Heaven Slaying asked. Lin Fan had his eyes on this fellow, and he wanted to take him as a subordinate. The main reason was that Old Ancestor Heaven Slaying's ability was amazing, and he could form all sorts of animals. To Lin Fan, it was like he was in a zoo. What a great ability. Who knows? It might be true. There is no need for him to lie to us. Sigh, with the current situation, what else can we decide? Su Yuan Ming and Guan entered this ocean long ago to find a way to break through to Dao Realm Stage 8. But the two of them are so despicable and didn't tell us. Their actions are just too despicable. Everyone discussed. Some of them were furious and wanted to fight Su Yuan Ming to the death. They were the ones who smashed the gate together, but they found a way to not tell them. That was just too much of a beast. Very quickly, they stepped into the ocean to search for the fortuitous encounter that they had just found out about. They still wanted to recover their sex and not fear Lin Fan's suppression. They were in a tragic state now, and when they heard Lin Fan's name, they had to retreat. If they faced Lin Fan, they wouldn't even have a place to run to. You City. Lin Fan's life was still so calm and blissful. Evil gods were indeed a problematic matter. But during this period of time, he accumulated a lot of rage points to raise his cultivation. Dao Realm Stage 8 was right in front of him. Although he hadn't reached it yet, he could sense that he was just a step away from it. The number of Dao patterns had increased to 300. Now, he felt that the difference between him and those terrifying evil gods should be the characteristics of their realms. Dao Realm Stage 7 specialty was Dao Return to 1. When the Dao pattern was condensed, it would explode with the strongest attack, possessing the power to destroy heaven and earth. He learned from old ancestor Shao that Dao Realm Stage 8 specialty was to comprehend the laws and break away from Dao patterns. Lifting one's hands and feet would have huge strength. At this moment, a familiar aura came from afar. Sect leader Lin. Lin Fan raised his head and looked out. At the same time, he told cousin to calm down. It was Hell Mountain Yin Kuan. Yin Kuan, why aren't you in the Alliance? What are you doing here? Lin Fan asked. He didn't care too much about the Alliance's situation. Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island being able to take advantage of the situation was their ability. Don't think that he had nothing to do in U City. Actually, he was thinking about the Evil God situation. Damn, Evil God Postline was just too strong. He was ridiculously strong, but it didn't matter. With his current advancement speed, he would be able to kill the Evil God in a short while. In this aspect, there wasn't much difficulty. Very quickly, Yin Kuan landed from the sky. When he saw the people standing beside Lin Fan, he was stunned. He then calmed down and hurried in front of Lin Fan. Sect leader Lin, something happened over at the Alliance. A black mountain appeared out of nowhere, and numerous black monsters appeared. We can't kill them, and we can't destroy them either. Yin Kuan didn't want to trouble Lin Fan, but he had no choice. They tried many methods, but they were all useless. Of course, those cities with statues were fine. Black Mountain? Lin Fan frowned and was confused. Let's go. Bring me over to take a look. Although he didn't want to bother about the Alliance's matters, since such a weird thing happened, naturally, he had to take a look. Okay, Yin Kuan replied. Actually, he came to find Lin Fan because he wanted to get closer to him. Everyone could see that the Alliance and rich land had no chance at all. Moreover, the Alliance didn't belong to him alone. There was a high chance that there would be a war with Ocean Emperor Island. Therefore, it was necessary for him to build a good relationship with Lin Fan at this time. Alliance. Black Mountain was in the ocean of the Alliance. For a black mountain to suddenly appear in the ocean was a little weird. The black mountain was covered in a thick black mist. The black mist mixed with the ocean and slowly expanded like it was trying to cover the entire ocean region. Cousin, this aura is similar to those evil gods I faced. Zhou Mao said. Lin Fan felt like the evil gods should have done this. Calm. Suddenly, a furious roar spread out from the Black Mountain. The sound reverberated and spread through the space. Is it because the Alliance looks easy to bully, so the evil gods want to attack from here? Lin Fan asked. He felt that there was a high possibility. At least, such a thing didn't happen at his place. Sect leader Lin, I don't know. Yin Kuan felt a little awkward. He muttered to himself. To you, the Alliance might be easy to bully, but to the evil gods, it wasn't so simple, right? The evil gods weren't able to descend and needed servants to open up the evil god tunnel. Maybe evil god servants ran here and opened up the evil god tunnel. Zhou Mao looked at cousin's gaze and instantly understood. He stepped out. He punched towards the Black Mountain. This fist was really strong. The air exploded, and a terrifying fist power was like a mad dragon that surged forwards and smashed onto the Black Mountain. The Black Mountain shook. The thick black mist was struck and spread outwards. Shortly after, numerous furious roars shook one's ears. A giant tentacle swept out from the Black Mountain. It tore apart heaven and earth and descended from above. You are asking to die. Zhou Mao hollered in rage and punched once more. The power clashed with the tentacle, and there was a loud explosion. It was really terrifying. Not simple, Lin Fan said. Now that cousin had returned, the time for him to attack was over. Truthfully, cousin was the only one who could understand the meaning in his eyes. Zhou Mao was furious. The power in his body boiled, and a demon ape stood in the air. Lightning wrapped around its body, and it roared in rage. It raised its fists and hammered towards the Black Mountain. Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. Cousin was amazing. It was a good choice to head out. His strength had increased by a lot, and, as a cousin, he felt happy. If he stayed by his side, maybe it would be good. But maybe it wouldn't be as strong as it was now. Suddenly, Cousin wait. Lin Fan was shocked and shouted anxiously. When Zhou Zhongmao heard Cousin's voice, he retracted his hand. The giant demon ape's fists landed above the Black Mountain. Although it stopped, the terrifying fist wind still landed, shaking the Black Mountain and splitting the ocean surface. It was really shocking. Yin Kuan was shocked, and the way he looked at Zhou Zhongmao was different. Oh my God, what kind of demon was this family? It was okay that Lin Fan was so strong at such a young age, but what was going on with this kid? Zhou Zhongmao retreated to Cousin's side. Cousin, what happened? Calm down, let me do it. Lin Fan said. Just now, he saw many monsters appear on the Black Mountain. They should be evil god servants. Where did his rage points come from? Apart from evil gods, it was evil god servants. As for the alliance, they provided slightly less. Luckily, he spoke quickly. If not, Cousin's two fists would have killed all these monsters. When that happened, wouldn't he suffer a huge loss? Lin Fan walked forwards and said, which evil god came to the alliance? He moved an entire mountain over. That is quite amazing. His voice spread over and wrapped around the Black Mountain. The evil god's servants roared in rage. Their roars shook the sky. Rage points plus 999. As expected, Lin Fan felt great. He really had rage points, and there were many of them. He was prepared to play with these evil god servants here. Of course, before that, he had to understand which evil god came. He specially opened the tunnel here. It was obvious that he knew about the situation in Rich Land and the other Alliance cities. They weren't able to stretch their hands there and could only find a chance elsewhere. Sect Leader Lin, how should we solve this? Yin Kuan asked. The black mist continues to expand, and if this continues, the entire ocean will be covered. This is a disaster that the Alliance can't handle. They didn't understand much about evil gods. If not for the statues that Sect Leader Lin sent over, the Alliance's situation would be even more terrifying. Don't rush, there's a way. Follow me, Lin Fan said, and then flew towards the Black Mountain. On the Black Mountain, when Lin Fan and the others stepped on the ground, they felt a cold air surge up from the ground. The Black Mountain didn't become like that because the mountain was black, but because it had turned into black ice. It seems like the evil god that wants to invade is a little strong, Lin Fan said. This was different from the evil gods he had seen in the past. In the past, those evil gods loved to attack in the cities and infect with evil god energy. Now, they actually brought their own place. One had to say that it was quite amazing. Suddenly, a terrifying aura spread out from the Black Mountain. Numerous tentacles charged into the sky from the Black Mountain. The dense tentacles locked down the area around. The side of the tentacles had sharp teeth, and they slowly retracted. It was obvious that they wanted to digest Lin Fan and the others from within. When Yin Kuan saw this, he was shocked. He didn't expect it to be so terrifying. Chapter 628. Lin Fan noticed that Yin Kuan was so frightened that his body shook, and he looked over in disdain. Maybe Yin Kuan sensed that Sect Leader Lin's gaze was a little off, and he coughed. Sect Leader Lin, a cold wind blew over, and I shivered. Don't be nervous. With me here, all of this is expected. Lin Fan raised his head and calmed down Yin Kuan's weak heart. It was normal for him to be frightened. After all, evil gods were usually quite disgusting. Instantly, numerous sword intents appeared around Lin Fan, and with a xiao, they broke through the air. The sword light was like a rainbow, forcefully ripping apart the tentacles. A sharp cry spread out. It was obvious that the evil god was badly injured and cried out in pain. It sounded really sad. Sila, those tentacles turned into shrapnel and fell down. Boy, which evil god are you? Come out and meet me. Maybe I will know who you are. Lin Fan said. He noticed that the evil god's servants were looking at him differently. It was like they were panicking a little. Maybe because his actions just now were too overbearing. Their evil god was beaten up so badly that he cried out in pain. After all, in their hearts, evil gods were invincible. How could such a thing happen? Silence. Rage points struck him. The evil god's servants roared in rage, but none of them dared to charge up. Lin Fan wasn't interested in evil gods. Instead, he was more interested in these evil god servants, as they could provide him with more rage points. Suddenly, Lin Fan realized that one of the evil god servants was looking at him with a weird gaze. He opened his fingers. That evil god servant flew towards Lin Fan uncontrollably. To the evil god servant, he hollered in his heart. Damn, what was going on? What did this person want to do? Why did he capture him? There were so many evil god servants around, and he didn't capture anyone else. Why did he want to bite him? That was just too much. Lin Fan grabbed the evil god slave. His body was a little huge, and with his fingers pressing down, the evil god slave felt a terrifying pressure. If he didn't shrink his body, he would definitely explode from Lin Fan's pressure. Under Lin Fan's strength, the evil god servant admitted defeat and shrunk his body. The way you look at me is a little weird. Why? You still want to mess with me? Lin Fan asked. Yin Kuan was helpless. Sect leader Lin, we are here to deal with evil gods, so why are you tangling with small fry? You aren't able to grasp the main point. Of course, this was only what he thought in his heart. On the surface, he still had a look of support for Lin Fan. Small living being, don't be too happy. Lord Evil God will come out to kill you. That evil god servant didn't back down and challenged Lin Fan right away. In fact, he felt a little guilty. The living being in front of him was simply too terrifying. He was almost scared to death. But as a servant of the evil god, how could he be afraid? Moreover, there were so many other servants watching. If he was afraid, wouldn't he lose face? Rage points plus 999. Lin Fan smiled. Unfortunately, your evil god is a little cowardly and hasn't come out till now. That is just so embarrassing. Only all of you came out, but you're just too weak. It is hard for me to be interested. What are you looking at? I'm talking about you guys. If you don't like it, then come at me. He realized that these evil god servants had pride, and they could understand what he was saying, although their expressions were really calm. But the appearance of rage points was enough to show how furious they were. Calm. The evil god's servants in the distance roared. If it was a normal living being, they would have charged up to rip him into pieces. Unfortunately, he was too strong. They didn't dare to. Yin Kuan looked at Lin Fan and didn't understand what he meant by that. What could he spit out when arguing with these evil god servants? All of you wait here. I will head down and take a look. I will solve this problem for the Alliance. Lin Fan said. Then, I will have to trouble sect leader Lin. Yin Kuan cupped his fists in gratitude. What he wanted to do now was to chase these evil gods away. The Alliance couldn't take such destruction. His heart hurt just looking at it. At that moment, Lin Fan was like a little fish, plunging head first into the sea that had already been infected by the black fog. This Black Mountain's foundations are a little deep. Looking out, the Black Mountain continued to extend downwards. Not long later, he saw a tunnel appear at the base of the Black Mountain. The person who came here to open up the evil god tunnel was a talent. Perhaps just now, that evil god had escaped along this Black Mountain. He raised his hand. Sword light gathered on his arm. He waved his arm, and a streak of light swept forwards, slicing the Black Mountain. Damn, you have no guts at all. To Lin Fan, that should have been the evil god's strike before he left. If he could kill Lin Fan, naturally, he wouldn't need to run. But since he failed, naturally, the evil god fled. Forget it. It is worth it. I will bring this back and farm rage points when I'm free. I can also raise my strength in the shortest time. Lin Fan smiled. Without saying a word, he grabbed the base of the Black Mountain and lifted it up. How long? The ocean water flowed backwards and shook. Within the slowly breaking tunnel, there seemed to be someone peeking. When he saw that Lin Fan was about to carry the Black Mountain away, the evil god was furious. His aura surged out from the tunnel that was about to break. Lin Fan lowered his head and said in disdain, "What is the use of being angry? If you're unhappy, then come out. If you don't have the ability, then just stay here." Rage points plus 999. His words were so infuriating. He nearly angered the evil god to death. Was he even speaking like a human? But even then, the evil god had no choice. He was extremely fearful of Lin Fan. In the blood food world, he knew what Lin Fan did. He was really strong, and if he fought him head-on, he might have been killed. But when he saw Lin Fan move the Black Mountain away, his heart was dripping blood and it hurt. How long? What happened? Yin Kun felt the ground beneath his feet shake. The entire Black Mountain was shaking. He realized that the Black Mountain was actually floating up like it was flying into the sky. Those evil god servants were the same. This Black Mountain was where they lived. They lived in the evil god territory. When the evil god left, he didn't bring the Black Mountain with him. That was a disaster for them. Yin Kun, I will bring the Black Mountain back. Don't worry, the Alliance. Lin Fan's voice spread out from below. Zhou Zhou immediately came to Cousin's side. "Cousin, let me do such rough work." Lin Fan nodded. It was indeed rough work. He then came to Yin Kun's side. "I will bring this thing back. If the Alliance has more of these things in the future, no matter what, you have to inform me right away." He suddenly thought about the fastest way to improve. That was to raise evil god servants. With the existence of these evil god servants, rage points would increase endlessly. Just thinking about it made him feel like it was a good way to get rich. Moreover, he had to tame them. One day, in the future, maybe he could form an evil god servant attraction area. That would be quite interesting. Don't worry, Sect Leader Lin. As long as such things happen, I will inform you right away. Yin Kun said. He felt like his relationship with Sect Leader Lin had gotten closer. It felt good. At this moment, the evil god servants in Black Mountain were stunned. Oh my god, where are these people bringing them to? How could Lord Evil God abandon them? Impossible. Something must have gone wrong. Otherwise, such a thing wouldn't have happened. Martial Path Mountain. A pitch-black mountain floated over from the distance. The Martial Path Mountain disciples raised their heads in confusion. What was that in the distance? Water Emperor raised his head and saw Lin Fan right away. He muttered to himself, what did Sect Leader Lin get this time? This Black Mountain gave him a bad feeling, and the evil god aura was too thick. Under Lin Fan's command, Zhou Zhongmao placed the Black Mountain not far from Martial Path Mountain. Sect Leader Lin, what is this? Water Emperor hurried over and asked. Lin Fan said calmly, nothing. I just met an evil god over at the Alliance. He left this thing and ran. The evil god's servants inside were interesting, so I brought them back to raise them. Water Emperor took a look. Amazing. These evil god servants look really scary. Lin Fan floated above the Black Mountain and said coldly, your only activity spot is in this Black Mountain. Whoever dares to step out will die. The moment he said this, a circle of light rose up from the side of the Black Mountain. The light was filled with killing aura, and it was really terrifying. It caused the evil god's servants to be terrified. Those who wanted to flee from the Black Mountain instantly gave up on that thought. Maybe the moment they touched the light, they would die. Sect Leader Lin, how is the situation with the evil gods? Water Emperor asked. The barrier to Tao Realm Stage 8 has loosened, and I can step into it at any moment. A while ago, Su Changsan came over to ask whether or not there are any more blood pearls. No, evil gods are hard to find, and it is not easy to meet one. Tell him to wait. Lin Fan said. Breaking through to Tao Realm Stage 8 wasn't a secret anymore. They all wanted to get the blood pearls. But how would they have so many for them to consume? To Water Emperor, to be able to become a Tao Realm Stage 8 expert was something that made him excited. St. Ru Fo, head to Black Mountain and beat up those who don't listen. Lin Fan looked towards St. Ru Fo and said, St. Ru Fo was doing well in Martial Path Mountain. Of course, many people asked about the secret of why he was willing to stay on Martial Path Mountain. Especially during this half a year, Water Emperor would ask him about it whenever he was free. But how would Saint Ru Fo tell him the exact reason? He was so shameless. He could say that he was frightened by Lin Fan and nearly peed his pants. If he really said it out, his face would be totally gone. Water Emperor might even spread the news. If everyone knew about it, they would be finished. P.S. I recommend a book. I want to be the richest person in my rebirth. If you're interested, you could take a look. Chapter 629. Water Emperor. All of you need to cultivate. With your strength, you have no chance of winning against some evil gods. Lin Fan said slowly. He didn't mean anything else. He just felt that Water Emperor and the others were a little weak. But luckily, the gap wasn't huge. They weren't far from Dao Realm Stage 8. But compared to Zhao Lishan and Zhu Shun, they were much better. Although they were at Dao Realm, when facing true evil gods, the gap was huge. The situation is really complicated. But since I consumed the Blood Pearl, I realized that the world lacks something that affects Dao Realm Stage 8. Water Emperor said. He was talking about Dao pattern laws. Without Dao pattern laws above Stage 8, it was tough to step into Stage 8. Who knew how long it would take? I will solve these problems. Lin Fan said. To break through to Stage 8, he had to kill evil gods and return the Dao pattern laws that old ancestor Shao and the others had merged into their bodies. Without these things, it would just be empty words. How long? How long? There was a shaking sound in the distance. 9 Demons' giant body walked in the air. Its 9 heads were really terrifying, and when it saw Lin Fan, it shrunk its body and struck towards Lin Fan. You have been really wild outside recently. Lin Fan rubbed 9 Demons' head and scolded. There were very few people in the world who could threaten 9 Demon. Thus, he allowed it to roam around. 9 Demon rubbed its head against Lin Fan's and acted cute. In the past, 9 Demon would roam outside and then head to U City to find him. He would spend some time there and then head to Marshall Path Mountain to take a look. Basically, that was the path he took. Lin Fan didn't rush back and instead spent some time in Marshall Path Mountain. A few days later, Lin Fan stayed in the courtyard and looked into the sky. Zhou Mao asked, "Cousin, what happened?" "Nothing, I just feel like the sky has changed." Lin Fan said. There were indeed some changes. It was like there were more Dao pattern laws merging into the world. Who was killing evil gods and returning the Dao pattern laws in the Blood Pearl back to the world. Old ancestor Shao had enough blood pearls. Insect Valley didn't have many people who reached Stage 7. Just what old ancestor Shao got was enough. Maybe he did it. The Abyss. A bunch of evil gods gathered together. Lula, Gamen, Slow, Jinjalai, Haituda, Nakia, and many other evil gods gathered in the Abyss. This situation was rare. It was not common. Evil gods loved to move alone and never liked to gather together. But today, for the first time, they gathered together. One had to say that this was really rare. Those damned living beings are really too much. They actually forced us to this state. Lula said angrily. He had stayed in the Abyss for a period of time. That detestable fatty had always been looking for him. He tried to leave the Abyss, but as soon as he took a step forward, his heart started beating fiercely. A sense of crisis struck. Therefore, when he returned to the Abyss, the sense of danger gradually disappeared. If someone had told him in the past that he wouldn't dare to leave the Abyss because of living beings, he would definitely have scoffed at it and wouldn't have taken it to heart. What a joke. As evil gods, how can we fear living beings? But now, Lulu was really a little afraid. That's right. Many living beings have come here and are searching for us. Especially those 3, they deserve to die. Fat living being, you all need to be careful. He eats evil god flesh and blood, and the other 2 have killed many evil gods. How can living beings be so terrifying? That is impossible. Let's not talk about all this. I just want to know who is borrowing power to fight against us. Until now, their internal conflict hadn't been solved. They had been searching for the evil god that was borrowing power to the living beings in the city. Who was it that was doing such a thing? I don't know. It is a little mysterious. The names in the city are all fake. That damn thing, what should we do now? Why haven't the bunch of top evil gods appeared? If they appeared, there would be no problem. They were forced into a corner by the living beings and were hoping for stronger evil gods to help. Suddenly, the abyss shook. A terrifying aura spread out. Evil gods focused and looked into the distance. Although the aura came from the same source as them, the feeling it gave off was just too strong. Who is it? All the evil gods had such a thought in their hearts. Very quickly, a person slowly appeared. At the same time, a voice spread out. As top-class evil gods, you are actually forced to hide in the abyss by those small living beings. How embarrassing. When they heard those words, the evil gods were furious. The evil gods were furious. Damn, he was just too arrogant. Just as they wanted to scold out loud. When they saw that person's true body, they were so frightened that their bodies shook. The words that were at their throats were swallowed back. Calamity. The evil gods recognized who it was right away. Top 10 Evil God Calamity. A terrifying presence. Calamity. Some things are easy to say, but it is really hard to do. Those living beings are really terrifying, and even you might not be able to deal with them. Lula said, Kiki, you are the weakest evil god, so naturally you think that those living beings are terrifying. True evil god experts are unimaginable to you. Calamity said slowly, but his words were a little harsh. Evil god Lula was infuriated by Lin Fan, but he didn't dare to say anything. Lin Fan was indeed much stronger than him, much stronger. Evil god Jinjalai, who was burning in flames, said, Calamity, they're challenging the honor of the evil gods. As one of the 10 evil gods, with your strength, it is not a problem for you to kill them. Why don't you do it? Do I need you to say that? I'm sleeping in the abyss. All of you keep reviving and causing the abyss to shake. It has affected my sleep. Evil god Calamity said. His words were too overbearing. He totally didn't care about any evil god at all. The evil gods gathered together didn't dare to say anything. They had no choice as the gap between evil gods was huge. Sometimes the gap was so huge that there was no end to it. Although evil god Lula was unwilling, he still transmitted Monster Emperor's aura to him. What he hated the most wasn't Lin Fan, but Monster Emperor, that bastard who swallowed him. Evil god Calamity inhaled the aura into his nose and reminisced. This smell is not bad. It seems like it is a delicious living being. All of you don't have the ability to swallow it, so leave it to me. Looking at evil god Calamity's arrogant face, the evil gods felt like the flames burning in their hearts were about to burn him to ashes. Wait for the good news. Very quickly, evil god Calamity left the abyss to search for Monster Emperor. He didn't care about Monster Emperor at all. Any living being was weak in front of evil gods. As for those evil gods being forced to such a state by such a weak living being, he felt embarrassed for them. Do you think Calamity can succeed? Scoff. Although I hate that fellow, I hope that he can swallow Calamity. How could such a thing happen? Calamity is really strong, and that living being is definitely no match for him. Maybe in just a short while, he will return. They didn't leave. They just waited here. As time flowed, they were shocked. Evil god Calamity had left for a long time and still hadn't returned. That was impossible. Of course, he was thinking that maybe evil god Calamity had a habit of playing with living beings, which was why he played for a long time. He should be back soon. After a long while, just as the evil gods were getting impatient, the abyss shook and a terrifying roar resounded through the sky. Damn it, damn it. That was evil god Calamity's voice. That is impossible. The evil gods looked at one another, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. They all knew how strong evil god Calamity was. How could he not be that person's match? Could it be that Calamity was really killed by that fellow? They didn't believe it. If that was the case, just how horrifying would that fella be? This was clearly something impossible. Very quickly, evil god Calamity's body walked out from the abyss. They were so far away, but they could sense the rage from his body. Calamity, why did you come out from the abyss? Did he eat you? Evil god Lula walked out and asked. Poochie. A cold light flashed, and one couldn't see it with the naked eye. Evil god Lula's eyes opened wide in disbelief. His body was sliced into pieces, and pieces of flesh and blood fell to the ground. Damn thing. Calamity's expression was really ugly. Those tentacles were too furious and slowly became violent. The surrounding evil gods retreated and didn't dare to get close to Calamity. They wanted to know what had happened, but they didn't dare to ask. Evil god Lula just asked, and he was killed. Very quickly, Lula revived from the abyss and hollered in rage. Calamity, you were killed by him. If you have the ability, then find trouble with him. Why did you kill me? Poochie. Calamity's tentacle struck like lightning and pierced Lula's head. To Calamity, he didn't care about Lula at all. Damn thing, I was too careless. He found Monster Emperor not because he couldn't beat him, but because he was too careless. Monster Emperor took the chance to swallow him. The process was painful, and at the same time, he felt embarrassed. As the 10th evil god, how could such a thing happen? Calamity retracted his tentacle. With a pung, his legs left the ground, and he charged into the distance. He wanted to find that person. He wanted to prove that he wasn't someone that a small living being like him could kill. The other evil gods looked in the direction that Calamity left and said, "He seems really angry. Aren't you talking nonsense? How embarrassing." Right, but Lula is such a tragedy. In the distance, Lula revived. Although the evil gods didn't know what he was thinking, it definitely wasn't good. Chapter 630. Damn, what are these fellows doing? The Tao pattern laws are much thicker. Lin Fan was confused. During this period of time, the Tao pattern laws were different from before. He estimated there weren't many experts in evil god territory, so even if they were, they couldn't be killed so quickly, right? Did something happen? Lin Fan couldn't help but suspect. Last time, that mysterious evil god obviously wanted to attack other evil gods. Moreover, he was really despicable and didn't attack himself. If he failed to talk to him, he would definitely find someone else. As for who was the best target, naturally, it was the sect leaders of the four alliances. They were willing to do anything to become strong. It was hard to say about the alliance. Yin Kuan was helpless against the evil god invasion and didn't know how to deal with it. It was obvious that he wouldn't offend the evil gods, but it was hard to say. He didn't want to break through to Tao Realm Stage 8. For that goal, it was necessary to take some risks. No, I have to take a look at what is going on. Although his guesses might be accurate, personally taking a look wouldn't be wrong. City of Hope. Lin Fan came to the city. Although the people living in the city were worried, to be able to survive in a place covered by evil gods was enough for them. St. Hall. When Air and Mok saw Lin Fan arrive, they were really respectful. Sect leader Lin. Lin Fan nodded. He thought about something and asked, "Did anything happen here recently? What happened?" Mok was in deep thought, like he was reminiscing. He shook his head. Nothing happened. Everything is normal. Evil gods haven't appeared yet. Even evil god servants haven't appeared in a long time. This was the weirdest thing for Mok and the others. In the past, evil god servants would come to disturb them or try to infect them. Lin Fan suspected that the sect leaders of the four alliances came here so that evil gods didn't have time to fight the 12 cities. This was because they had to face those vicious sect leaders. To break through to Tao Realm Stage 8, they would definitely go all out to kill evil gods. Within St. Hall, has there been any news from the other holy cities? For example, some evil god has been killed. Lin Fan asked. Now that he came here, he had to be careful. He was afraid that he would bump into evil god post line. That person was really terrifying, and with his current strength, he couldn't fight him. And Mo Fu said, "Sect leader Lin, I didn't notice anything recently. But it is weird. The 12 cities didn't suffer the invasion of evil gods. In the past, evil god servants would appear nearby, but during this period of time, there was no movement at all. Mok told me just now. I think someone from my side came here to kill evil gods, so I came to ask whether or not that was the case." Lin Fan said. When Mo Fu heard this, he was delighted. Their lives were tough, and they had no hope at all. But since Lin Fan appeared, light appeared in his eyes. He really hoped that the evil gods could be destroyed. But evil gods' undying nature was too terrifying. Therefore, he could only hope that the evil gods could be sealed in the abyss and not come out. Even if they were given 100 years to rest, it would be a good thing. In the future, they would have the ability to fight against the evil gods. At this moment, a terrifying aura shrouded over from outside, and the city of hope shook. The light screen let out a shattering sound, and many cracks appeared. This is... Mo Fu was shocked. It was as if he had seen a ghost. He hurriedly ran outside. When he arrived outside, he raised his head in terror and saw that the city was covered in black mist. In the black mist, there was a pair of red eyes shining. Small living being, come out. I have something to ask all of you. An emotionless voice spread over. Lin Fan was stunned. He was just saying that the evil gods were busy dealing with the sect leaders of the Four Alliances. Who knew that not long after he finished, evil gods would come over? That was a little out of the ordinary. That was a little too much. He walked out and raised his head. He had a praise. What a thick evil god aura. It was much stronger than those evil gods he had faced, but compared to Postline, it was much weaker. Sect Leader Lin, this is not good. This is the 10th evil god calamity. Mo Fu's body trembled, and even his legs were shaking. He was really afraid. In the past, such an evil god had never appeared. Now that such an evil god appeared, it meant that they were finished. They couldn't defend the city of hope at all. Don't panic. Lin Fan came to Mo Fu's side and told him to calm down. Don't pee your pants just because an evil god appeared. They didn't even know what was going on, so there was no need to be so nervous. The people in the city of hope huddled together in terror. Their hearts were shaking. That terrifying evil god aura covered their hearts. Evil god calamity raged. Living being, let me ask you, have you seen a fat living being with a tail? Mo Fu was the city of hope St. Hall Lord, so naturally he was the one to face him. He took in a deep breath and suppressed the terror in his heart. No, Mo Fu said. He didn't know what the outcome would be. If evil god calamity attacked the city of hope, then what should he do? Would the evil god protecting them appear to help them? Even if he knew that sect leader Lin was strong, there was a limit to how strong he could be. He was facing evil god calamity, a truly terrifying evil god. Other evil gods couldn't compare to him. Evil god calamity was furious and scoffed. More cracks appeared on the light barrier above the city of hope. If this continued, naturally it would shatter. Evil god calamity was searching for Monster Emperor. When he returned to his original spot, he didn't find Monster Emperor. Even when he searched for the scent, he only found a piece of skin. Thus, he didn't return to the abyss. Instead, he searched outside. No matter what, he had to find that person. If not, as the 10th evil god, he would be mocked by those pitiful evil gods. Suddenly, evil god calamity locked his eyes onto Lin Fan. Your scent is similar to his. Do you know him? Lin Fan was thinking about who he was talking about. He was a little foreign. He thought about it, but he couldn't match it up. He was fat and had a tail. What a joke. How would he know such a person? Mo Fu, don't come out. Lin Fan rose into the air and left the city of hope. Otherwise, if they fought, the ripples would be a little shocking. His scent is similar to mine. Who are you talking about? Lin Fan also wanted to know which talent forced the evil god to such a state. He actually personally came out to search for him. I order you to tell me where he is. Otherwise, you will regret it. Evil god Calamity was stunned. The black mist started to boil. It was obvious that he was extremely furious, and he was about to lose his mind. Kiki, you are interesting. You don't even know who you are looking for, and you want me to hand him over. Where am I going to hand him over? Also, why are you so arrogant? If I don't tell you, you will make me regret it. How strong are you? Or are you saying that your strength is because you are ranked 10th among the evil gods? Lin Fan smiled and asked. There was no way to have a good conversation with evil gods. Only when both sides fought would it be true. Mo Fu's face was filled with worry. He didn't expect sect leader Lin to actually speak to evil gods like that. It was obvious that he was prepared to fight. At the same time, he was grateful to him. If a battle occurred above the City of Hope, then the ripples would cause the entire city to collapse and turn it into pieces. But he really didn't understand what was going on. Why did the top 10 evil gods appear? Weren't they usually sleeping? The evil god that lent them strength told him before. The truly terrifying evil gods were sleeping in the deep abyss. They wouldn't attack the 12 holy cities. When facing other evil gods, with my help, all of you would be fine. But the situation was different now. The top 10 evil gods appeared, and they appeared in the City of Hope. If not for sect leader Lin, then what could the City of Hope use to block? Maybe they would be wiped out right away. Preposterous. Evil god Calamity hollered in rage. After he was killed by Monster Emperor, he was furious. He couldn't find any traces of Monster Emperor, and that made his rage even harder to extinguish. Now that this small living being provoked him, how could he take it? Lin Fan raised his feet and stepped forwards. He instantly appeared in the distance and waved towards evil god Calamity. Come here. I will wait for you here. Damn thing. Evil god Calamity was furious. After being provoked once more, how could he take it lying down? The thick black mist condensed and like a black hole appeared. It absorbed the black mist. Instantly, evil god Calamity showed his true body. He had the body of a tiger, and he had the face of a human. There were numerous tentacles waving behind his back. Calm! A furious roar exploded. Lin Fan stood in the air and felt like the space was being squeezed. Many terrifying powers swept towards him and pressed onto his body. If his cultivation was weak, he basically didn't need to attack, and he would have been crushed to death by the shockwaves. Not bad. You are really strong, but compared to Evil God Postline, you are far from it, Lin Fan said calmly. His gaze turned solemn. There would be an intense battle soon. Although he didn't care much about him, one had to say that with his strength, it was impossible for him to take him down easily. If he was careless, he might even be in danger. Wong. Suddenly, Lin Fan frowned. He felt like the surrounding space was a little off. Xiao. Sila's space shattered. Countless tentacles weaved together to form a huge net that enveloped him from behind. How'd he do that? Lin Fan was confused. He was right in front of him, but the attacks were like a storm. He didn't even see how he attacked. But he didn't have the time to think so much. Let's just fight. Chapter 631. Long. Lin Fan punched back, and it clashed with the tentacles that formed a net, giving rise to a shocking explosion. Waves of air surged, sweeping out in all directions. A little amazing. No wonder you were so arrogant. Lin Fan retreated a few steps. The impact from a clash was really strong. He was Dao Realm Stage 7 and cultivated both internal and external cultivation. His strength could compare to Dao Realm Stage 9, but even then, he still suffered a small loss. One had to say that Evil God Calamity was really strong. He wasn't someone that those weak evil gods could compare to. Within the City of Hope, Mo Fu looked into the distance in panic. Even if he was far away, the terrifying aura was still like a wave that swept over and covered the sky above the City of Hope. Too strong. He was just too strong. And Mo Fu felt really fortunate. Fortunately, Sect Leader Lin was willing to help Saint City. If they fought Saint City, they would be finished. Damn. Evil God Calamity was furious. His rage had reached the extreme. He didn't believe that he had suffered at the hands of that damn fatty, and now he couldn't take this person down. What was going on with the times? Why were there such huge changes? Didn't he just sleep for a while, and he met all these things? That was just so preposterous. Even when he fought those experts in the past, such a thing had never happened before. Naturally, he was referring to the situation where he was eaten by Monster Emperor. Those scenes were just too intense. Anyone who saw would feel heart-pained, and anyone who heard it would cry. For one of the top 10 evil gods to face such a thing was just too much. Long. The battle entered its climax. At that moment, Lin Fan was going through the most dangerous moment in his life. He didn't underestimate him. That special ability of his exploded. A power that Lin Fan had never comprehended before turned into a demonic hand that descended from the sky. This is the special ability of someone above Dao Realm Stage 8. Lin Fan raised his head and didn't dare to be careless. His strength wasn't stronger than his, and it was even a little weaker. But the special ability caused a gap between them. If he broke through to Dao Realm Stage 8, then all the gap would disappear and it wouldn't exist anymore. Now wasn't the time to think about all this. He had to use some skill to fight him. At this moment, Lin Fan hollered. The aura on his body swelled up, and a shocking power burst forth. With a crack, his body swelled up, and 300 Dao patterns surged out from his body like giant dragons. They coiled around his right arm and gradually gathered together. How can this living being have such a terrifying number of Dao patterns? Evil God Calamity was shocked. His eyes opened wide like he had seen a ghost. He had fought with the Blood Food World experts, and there weren't many who could reach such a number. How did this person do it? But none of that mattered now. The gap between realms was irreplaceable. Oi, although you are strong, you aren't as strong as Evil God Postline. With just these skills, you won't be able to affect me. Let's see how powerful your demon hand is. As soon as he finished speaking, as Lin Fan punched out, a resplendent beam of light shot up into the sky and clashed against that boundless demonic palm. Crack! Cracks appeared in the dimension, and then they split apart in all directions at an extremely fast speed. Shock waves that could rip apart the sky spread out. Such a battle had exceeded everything. To Lin Fan, he felt that the space around him was a little weird. It was like some power was suppressing his body, but because he was too strong, he was fighting against it. Fortunately, the gap between the 10th Evil God and Postline is huge, otherwise I would have been finished. Lin Fan could underestimate the other evil gods, but he couldn't underestimate the top 10. When old ancestor Shao told him, although he was filled with disdain and didn't care much about it, he remembered it in his heart. Just the top row of evil gods forced old ancestor Shao and the others into a corner. They used the Tao pattern laws of the entire world to suppress them. That was enough to show how strong those terrifying evil gods were. Suddenly, Lin Fan realized that evil God Calamity disappeared. Suddenly, the dimension in front of him ripped open. He just wanted to laugh at that. Did this person want to fight close combat? Right as Lin Fan was prepared to fight back, his expression changed. He realized that his body couldn't move. The space around him froze. He saw a tentacle strike him, but he could only look on. Damn, Lin Fan struggled. Terrifying power wrapped around his body. Like boiling water, he started to boil. Gotcha! The frozen space shook, but it couldn't restrict his movement. Everything just became sticky. Just as Lin Fan totally controlled his body, the tentacle was already in front of him. He couldn't dodge it. The tentacle's target was his head. He wanted to kill him in one strike. He didn't want to give him a second chance. Even if he had the blood demon reversal technique, if his head was smashed, he would definitely die. Damn! At that crucial moment, Lin Fan's body swelled up. He opened his mouth, and the tentacle entered. With a crack, he gritted his teeth and bit the tentacle such that it was tough for it to enter. Poochie! He bit off the tentacle right away. His body moved freely, and he instantly teleported away from Evil God Calamity's attack range. It was too dangerous just now. If he wasn't quick enough, the outcome would have been catastrophic. He didn't expect that he would nearly die. Small blood food. You actually dare to do that? Evil God Calamity hollered. Those scenes made him think back to what Monster Emperor did to him. That was his humiliation as an evil god. Who knew that there would actually be someone who dared to do that? Damn it. Rage burned in Evil God Calamity's body. Right now, he just wanted to tear Lin Fan to shreds. Lin Fan's mouth was covered in blood. His first thought was that it was disgusting. Damn, he actually bit the evil god's tentacle. That was just dirtying his mouth. Just as he was prepared to spit out the trash, his expression changed slightly. This taste is a little. Lin Fan frowned. Was there something wrong with him? He actually felt that the evil god's flesh was delicious. Such a situation was just a little terrifying to him. But one had to say, he couldn't help but swallow it. The darkness god domain shook. Numerous thin threads spread out from the god domain god hall and wrapped around the flesh. This is? Suddenly, he noticed something that shocked him. There was a statue of the darkness chief god in the god hall. Although the statue gave off the aura of a chief god, in the end, it was just a cold statue. But at that moment, a small piece of flesh appeared on the statue's arm. Although it was small, it didn't escape Lin Fan's eyes. That can't be. Swallowing evil god flesh can help the darkness god domain form quickly? Lin Fan thought about it. If that was the case, apart from dual cultivation, he also had a cultivation system. At the same time, the starting point of this system was a little high. He just needed to recover, and the requirements for recovery weren't low. During this period of time, he accumulated a lot of faith, but after the darkness god domain formed, there weren't any changes at all. He could use faith to do many things. But the only thing he couldn't do was to let the darkness god domain develop once more. If not for such a coincidental thing, he probably wouldn't have realized that what he needed was evil god flesh and blood. At that moment, evil god Calamity was furious. But suddenly, he noticed that the way the blood food looked at him was a little off. What was that gaze? It made him very angry. At the same time, it was a little familiar. It was the same gaze that the fatty had when he looked at him. You? What do you mean? Evil god Calamity's voice trembled. He felt like he had become the prey, and Lin Fan's gaze was that of the hunter. Hee. Lin Fan smiled. His smile was a little terrifying. Although the evil god looked disgusting, but since it could help him, there was no reason that he couldn't take it. At that moment, Lin Fan twisted his neck and said slowly, Actually, I forgot to tell you something. I have another form, but it is too ugly and I don't want to show it to others. But just now, your situation is worth me showing it to you. Then, prepare yourself. I'm going to be serious. The moment he said this, Lin Fan hollered. The power of the bug controlling technique spread out in all directions. Like a radar, it swept the entire region. Not even a rice-sized hole was missed. Pung pung. It became restless. An ear-piercing sound spread out. Shortly after, a black mass swept over from all directions like a tidal wave. It was very strange, and he had no idea what it was. It is here. It is here. Merge. Lin Fan opened his arms wide, allowing the black swarm of bugs to envelop him. When the bugs covered his body, he could feel an unprecedented power descending upon him. Damn thing. Evil god Calamity roared. His tentacles tore through the sky and smashed down. But shortly after, numerous black bugs covered the sky and covered the earth. Pung, pung. Numerous bug corpses fell. But in front of absolute numbers, they actually blocked Calamity's tentacles. A furious roar exploded out. Lin Fan's bug body appeared in front of evil god Calamity. Kacha! Kacha! At that moment, Lin Fan's body was covered in sharp teeth. Kacha Kacha! This was the first time Lin Fan had seen such a form. Although it was a little ugly, but it was also the most effective. It could rip off evil god Calamity's flesh and blood from all directions. Evil god Calamity was furious. He sensed Monster Emperor's aura. Although Monster Emperor changed the bug controlling technique, they came from the same source, and the core aura was still the same. Damn thing. Your aura is the same as his. I'm going to rip you apart. Lin Fan found it weird, but now wasn't the time to think about such things. He wanted to swallow this fellow. Chapter 632. Blood-curdling screams resounded. To evil god Calamity, he didn't expect things to turn out like this. His tentacles rained down like a storm, directly bombarding the other party's body. But how could he have known? When the tentacles landed on Lin Fan's body, those mouths opened and closed, directly biting him off. Blood dyed the sky, and the scene was a little tragic. The broken tentacle was waving wildly. Evil god Calamity felt like everything he faced was like a dream. Everything was just so unreal. Great tonics. These are all great tonics. Lin Fan was really excited. He didn't expect the evil god flesh and blood to be so useful. The darkness god domain in his body changed, and the statue became more and more real. He did not know what would happen when this statue truly became a body of flesh and blood. I hope it's not too bad. You, evil god Calamity hollered in rage and looked at Lin Fan in rage. His expression looked like he wanted to swallow Lin Fan up. Lin Fan laughed maniacally. The injuries on his body were quite severe. He wanted to swallow the evil god's flesh and blood, so he had to face the attacks. Each time he did, it felt really bad. It was really painful, and his bones felt like they were about to shatter. Calamity, I want your flesh and blood. Don't even think of running away. I'm going to eat you up piece by piece. Lin Fan's voice was a little hoarse. When he said those words, Calamity's expression was very complicated. At the same time, Calamity didn't think that he could hold on for long. Look at the injuries on his body. He shouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. What? But right at this moment, a shocking scene occurred. The wounds on Lin Fan's body instantly healed. Evil God Calamity was filled with disbelief. How could this be? What are you spacing out for? Lin Fan appeared in front of Calamity, all the mouth parts on his body open, ready to tear him apart. Get lost. Evil God Calamity hollered. The tentacles on his back turned into lightning and swept towards Lin Fan. He was totally furious. Poochie. The tentacles pierced through Lin Fan's body. Evil God Calamity smiled. Small thing. Let's see what waves you can cause now. Puff. Puff. What was that sound? And where did this pain come from? When he took a closer look, Calamity couldn't help but roar. Damn it, damn it. The tentacles that had pierced through the other party's body were being torn apart by those mouth parts. It was a bloody scene. Are you a person or an evil god? Calamity hollered. He had fought with these creatures before, so he knew what they were capable of and what their limits were. But what was going on now? Ha ha. I'll tell you about this later. For now, you should just obediently let me devour you. Lin Fan laughed out loud. Large amounts of evil god flesh and blood surged into his body. The darkness god domain was a little busy. Numerous threads flew out from within and wrapped up the flesh and blood. The statue gave off a bright light. After being replenished, the darkness chief god statue was different from before. Wishful thinking. After being tricked by Monster Emperor, how would evil god Calamity be so careless? In an instant, Calamity decisively cut off the tentacles and flung out his arms. The sound of the air being pierced was ear-piercing as they slammed into Lin Fan's body. Lin Fan felt as if his entire body was about to explode. Even if he turned into a bug, it was tough for him to block. Numerous wounds opened up and dead bugs surged out from his body. Ha ha! Who asked you to be arrogant? Calamity hollered. As the 10th evil god, he was actually entangled by someone who wasn't even at Tao Realm Stage 8. That was a huge insult. Now that he saw how bad Lin Fan was, he was delighted. But shortly after, something that infuriated him happened. Lin Fan wasn't sent flying because of the hammer. Instead, he grabbed the arms and bit it. It was so painful that Calamity screamed out. I said that I would swallow you, so I will. Don't think about escaping. He could only rely on the blood demon reversal technique to fight him head-on. If Calamity wasn't swallowed by Monster Emperor, he would still be careless and wouldn't care about Lin Fan at all. In the end, he might have been swallowed by Lin Fan. Damn. Evil God Calamity hollered in rage. A terrifying aura exploded from his body. Lin Fan sensed danger and retreated. Right at that moment, a black light exploded from Calamity's body. Shio! Terrifying power. Lin Fan punched and the fist was shattered by the black light. But it also restricted the speed of the black light. He stepped to the side. How long? The black light pierced through his body. Even if it didn't hit him, the shockwaves ripped at Lin Fan's body. His left arm disappeared in the ripples. Tao Realm Stage 6 Undying Body along with the Blood Demon reversal technique. The arm of destruction grew back really quickly. Damn living being, just you wait. I will come back to find you. Evil God Calamity hollered. He turned into a black mist and disappeared from the world. Ooh, it is over. Lin Fan's expression was solemn. The chances of him killing evil god Calamity was really low, unless he made a fatal mistake. Otherwise, he had no chance at all. Dao Realm Stage 7 was far from enough. He had to at least reach Stage 8. But I didn't lose out at all. I even earned. Lin Fan muttered and felt really good. He deactivated the bug transformation. Large amounts of black bugs left his body and fell to the ground. The bug transformation was a little disgusting. He didn't dare to do that in front of his family. Otherwise, he would really scare them to death. It seems like I have to stay here for a period of time. Lin Fan didn't expect that one day he would have to swallow evil gods. But he had no choice. The darkness god domain needed evil god flesh and blood. He couldn't just give up just because he found it disgusting, right? Unfortunately, evil gods were hard to find. But if he could swallow a complete evil god, the changes would be even greater. If he knew that this would happen, he wouldn't have wasted those corpses. City of Hope. Mo Fu looked on. The battle had ended. As for the outcome, he had no idea. He prayed that nothing would happen to sect leader Lin. Very quickly, a person walked over slowly. When Mo Fu saw that person, he was delighted. A smile appeared on his face. Sect leader Lin, are you okay? What can happen to me? I didn't kill him and let him escape. Lin Fan said regretfully. When he heard those words, Mo Fu's eyes opened wide, and he stared at Lin Fan. He didn't kill him and let him escape. The news within was just too shocking. If one's mental state wasn't good, they would probably explode on the spot. Why was the gap between them so huge? That was the 10th evil god. Mo Fu was stunned. His eyes were filled with stars as he looked at Lin Fan. He might have been old, but he still admired people. The current sect leader Lin was someone that he wanted to worship. If he knew that sect leader Lin liked to eat evil gods raw, he would spit out a mouthful of blood. Kiki, so be it. There is nothing special about him. Lin Fan was really calm, like he was talking about something that didn't matter at all. But City of Hope might be in danger. He might come again. If I am not here, you won't be able to block him. Lin Fan felt that there was a high chance of that happening. If evil god Calamity was furious and came back, Mo Fu and the others wouldn't even be enough. Unless the evil gods behind them appeared, they wouldn't have any chance of surviving. Of course, there was a chance that nothing would happen. Who knew if there was an agreement between evil gods? For example, he was protecting these cities, and the top 10 evil gods weren't allowed to attack. Mo Fu was in deep thought. He was thinking about this matter. Should he leave the city or not? Lin Fan patted his shoulder. Think about it. I will stay in your world during this period of time. If you have anything, just contact me. I have something to do, so I will leave first. He was eager to leave. There were only so many evil gods, and many of them were hidden really well. Along with people hunting evil gods, it wasn't realistic for him to eat to his heart's content. This was why he wanted to strike and search all around. Maybe he would be lucky enough to bump into one. Deep Abyss. When Calamity returned to the Abyss, a bunch of evil gods were looking at him. He scoffed coldly and fell into the Abyss. The evil gods gloated when they saw that. They cared a lot about the rankings of the evil gods. No one wanted to be in the bottom few, so they were jealous of the top 10 evil gods. Now that they saw Calamity's haggard and furious expression, not only did they not pity him, but they were happy instead. It seemed like he took a huge loss outside. But what terrified them was what Calamity had gone through. How could they be a match for someone that even he couldn't face? Thus, they all hid in the Abyss. Before the situation became clear, they definitely wouldn't leave. Who knew what was waiting for them outside? A bunch of evil gods who treated living beings as food were actually forced to stay in the Abyss. One had to say that this was unheard of in history. In a certain forest, there was a loud explosion. A second-class evil god fell down covered in blood. Its giant body crushed numerous trees. Numerous people landed from the sky and landed on the ground. They were the sect leaders. They entered this place to search for evil gods and didn't find anything. It was also hard for them to meet one. But Dao Realm Stage 8 was too tempting. So how could they let it go so easily? So, They formed groups and swept every corner. What do we split this? Old Monster Heaven Slaying asked. When he looked at the blood pearl, his eyes lit up. This was the legendary medium that could help one break through to Tao Realm Stage 8. But he was worried about something too. Was it really useful to eat this? After all, it was obtained from the body of such a disgusting monster. Yin Yang sect Su Yi said, "Who will eat this first? Let's see if it is useful or if there will be problems." There was a problem with his words. When Su Yi saw this, his eyes lit up, but there was only one. Moreover, he noticed that evil gods were too hard to find, and one was lucky to meet one. This was why he said that to make some people give up on consuming it. Chapter 633. Who knows if that mysterious person is speaking the truth or not? Right? I really don't dare to consume such a disgusting monster. If I turn into a monster after consuming it, then it will be a little problematic. A few sect leaders shook their heads. They were worried about the blood pearl. It was tough for them to survive until now. If there was really a problem with it, and something happened to their bodies after consuming it, then what would they do? It was better to wait. See who was stubborn and couldn't help but consume it. To them, the blood pearl wasn't the only one in the world. It was just slightly harder to find, so they weren't in a rush. Old Monster Heaven Slaying said slowly, "That mysterious person hasn't appeared again, but for some reason, I feel really uneasy like someone is spying on us along the way. Maybe that mysterious person is hiding somewhere." Towards Old Monster Heaven Slaying's words, everyone didn't care much about it. Instead, they really cared about it. Old Monster Heaven Slaying was the leader of Monster God Mountain, and his cultivation technique was special. He was really sensitive to the surrounding environment. Everyone looked around, like they were searching for the person hiding in the darkness. They just searched around. They didn't notice anything wrong. Maybe it was an illusion, but they had to pay attention to it. Su Yi said, "It isn't important whether or not he followed us. The key is whether or not this item is useful, or if we convince him to use it, he will become like the evil god we killed." Sect leader Su's words make sense. What is the point of caring about all this now? But who will use it? After all of you are top sect leaders, and it isn't easy to cultivate to such a stage. If anything happens, then all of you will have died for nothing. Another sect leader said. All the sect leaders sucked in a deep breath. They were all hesitant. What should they do? They were really helpless now. The mysterious person said that Su Yuan Ming and Gu Yuan had already used it, but the key was that they hadn't met the two of them. Who knew what the exact situation was? What if he was lying? If Su Yuan Ming and Gu Yuan appeared, then they would be able to ask. Su Yi slowly walked in front of the corpse and grabbed the blood pearl. He then looked at everyone. This can't go on. Everyone wants to use it, but no one dares to. Since that is the case, then let me go first. If it is useful, then I will accompany all of you to kill more evil gods. However, if it's useless and something goes wrong, please don't be polite and kill me immediately. Everyone looked at Su Yi in shock. All of them were sect leaders, and all of them knew what was going on. They were just shocked that Su Yi wanted to break through to Tao Realm Stage 8. He actually dared to take such a huge risk. "Grandmaster Su, you got to think this through." A Grandmaster said, "Right, actually you can find someone to test it. There is no need to personally take the risk." Old Monster Heaven Slaying said slowly. He also knew that Su Yi had wanted to use it for a long time, but he didn't recommend being so impulsive. They had a noble goal, which was to work hard to raise their strength so that one day they could fight Lin Fan to the death and restore their sect. They didn't have any other thoughts, although some had already moved their sects away. But the hearts of the disciples were scattered. Some of them left directly, looking for a new path to live. After all, the place where they settled their sect was too desolate and uninhabited. Even the most basic supplies were a problem. Some of the more accomplished disciples might have feelings for the sect, but after spending so much time in such a desolate and boring place, their minds had long since exploded. How could they possibly endure it? Thus, during this half a year, most of the sects only existed in name, and the prosperous times in the past were gone. This was why the sect leaders just wanted to raise their cultivation and have the strength to fight Lin Fan. As for other things, it was best to put them aside. Compared to what they were thinking about, they weren't worth mentioning at all. It's always true to try it yourself. As soon as Su Ye's voice fell, he directly swallowed the bead of blood and flesh. His expression immediately became solemn. He panicked. He was afraid too, but he knew that some things were possible. Suddenly, to Su Yi, it was like lightning flashed in his mind. He broke through the fog and saw the true path. Joy appeared on his face. I saw it. I saw it. Su Yi was delighted and his blood boiled. This feeling that he had never felt before swept his heart, allowing him to see the path that he couldn't see in the past. Old monster heaven slaying, and the others looked at one another. He really succeeded. Very quickly, Su Yi looked at them and said, "It is useful. I can indeed see the path ahead. This is something that has never happened before." "What is it like? Do you feel anything?" Everyone asked. They were really curious. After all, they had been stuck at stage 7 for a long time. The path ahead was directly broken, and they couldn't see any traces at all. Su Ye's body turned cold. This feeling was much more comfortable than when he broke through to stage 7. Facing their questions, he didn't hide anything and said slowly, "That feeling is indescribable, but it is like when we are in despair, a bright path appears beneath our feet. As long as we follow this path, we will reach the end. Moreover, it is really clear. It is like we have instantly comprehended many things. That mysterious person didn't lie to us. This blood pearl is the key to helping us break through to stage 8. After hearing Su Yi say all this, everyone was filled with anticipation. They wanted to feel that way too. Their dying hope burned once more. It was really strong, and it lit up their hearts. Old Monster Heaven Slaying said, "It is good that it is useful. Next is to continue to search for evil gods. But I feel that it is really difficult. These evil gods are too good at hiding. If we didn't bump into them, who knows when we would have bumped into them? Opportunities always come from hard work. If we hadn't gone to so many places, we wouldn't have bumped into them." Su Yi said. Although he had obtained the blood pearl, he didn't leave. Like before, he followed them to search for evil gods. He was really confused. Why would the key to breaking through be in the bodies of these evil gods? If he didn't understand these things, he would feel really uneasy. In a certain cave, mournful screams could be heard. After Monster Emperor swallowed evil god Calamity, his body started to change. The first change was that he shed his skin like how a python shed its skin. His aura slowly changed too, such that Calamity couldn't find Monster Emperor. Within the cave, Monster Emperor raised his head and roared. His eyes shone red, and 2 tumors appeared on his back. Something was moving inside, like it was about to break out of his body. But Monster Emperor's skin was too rough, and it was hard to come out. Pung! Pung! The thick tail smashed the ground, and each strike would cause a giant hole to appear. My body is about to explode. There was a strong power flowing in Monster Emperor's body. That was the power of evil god Calamity. He didn't know why, but he definitely couldn't die just like that. At that moment, Monster Emperor hollered, and the 2 tumors on his back exploded. Poochie! Poochie! Blood splattered all over the ground, and 2 bloody arms appeared. Monster Emperor's body changed once more. He actually had 4 arms, especially the 2 that just grew out. They were really thick and were covered in black scales like his tail. Monster Emperor wasn't a human at all. If he was a human, how could he become like this? Who? Monster Emperor panted. The power in his body had dissipated and he calmed down. He didn't feel like he was going to explode. When he noticed the changes in his body, his expression slowly changed. Perfect body. My body is evolving towards the perfect body. He didn't panic because his body was becoming weird. He was even excited. His final goal was to improve his body to the perfect body. Evil God's existence gave him hope. What majestic body it was. Compared to the weakness of humans, they were the ones who were truly strong. At that moment, Monster Emperor clenched his fists and felt like his body was filled with power. He was much more terrifying than before. He wouldn't stop on the path of searching for evil gods. Only by swallowing them would he be able to evolve. With a pung, Monster Emperor disappeared from the cave. The cave also exploded and turned into numerous shrapnel that scattered in the air. In a desolate desert, the sand was black. Occasionally one could see black scorpions crawling on the sand, and in the blink of an eye, they disappeared. Damn, it is so hard to find. After Lin Fan left the City of Hope, he had been searching for evil gods. But evil gods were just too hard to find now. Maybe it was because too many things had happened. Even the evil gods were a little stunned. They were evil gods, so why were they suddenly being massacred? Haze, this place is so weird. I thought that there would be evil gods, but I didn't expect that I was thinking too much. What a waste. Lin Fan shook his head regretfully. What else could he do? There was nothing he could do. Sometimes he just had to guess. If he guessed correctly, then he would earn. If not, then he would have to change places. Lin Fan turned his head, and after confirming that there was nothing weird, he stepped into the dimension and headed into the distance. He didn't turn back on the path of searching for evil gods. Evil God Masaki was satisfied with the current situation. More and more experts were killing evil gods here. Those corpses were left for him and allowed him to recover well. But Monster Emperor's situation shocked him. He swallowed evil god flesh and blood. His actions were a little shocking. It was hard to imagine what kind of theory was involved. What kind of existence was Monster Emperor? He thought about how Monster Emperor was an evil god descendant, but that was impossible. Restricted Ocean, I was sealed for so long. How could a descendant only appear now? But all of this wasn't important. He followed the experts from the 4 alliances, and after they killed the evil gods, he would swallow the corpses to replenish his body that lacked nutrients. Chapter 634. A few days later. Alliance, a certain countryside farm. An old man dressed in a farmer's outfit was farming under the sun. He waved his hoe, and each time it landed, he would accurately dig up the soil. It was lunchtime. The surrounding farmers packed their things and went home. When they passed the old man, they waved at him. They didn't know who this old man was, and that he came back half a year ago. He said that he grew up here and then went to the city. When he got old, he returned to his old home and was prepared to spend his remaining years here. They all understood this. This was what it meant to return to one's roots. The old man raised his head and looked into the distance. He was calm and a little worried. His eyes were filled with energy like he could see through one's heart. It wasn't like the light that normal old men had. Suddenly, a wind blew. A person appeared behind the old man and just stood there quietly. The old man didn't notice that there was someone behind him. He continued to look into the distance until the person behind him spoke. Wu Sheng, silence. It was totally silent. Old Wu Sheng's pupils constricted. The light in his eyes shone like it was about to pierce through the sky. His hand that was holding the hoe trembled, and he turned around in disbelief. He knew who it was, but deep in his heart, he still didn't dare to believe it. When he looked at that face, his voice started to tremble. Commander, where did you go? He didn't expect that he would be able to see the commander once more. Even if half a year passed, the scenes were still fresh in his mind like it was yesterday. I wonder where I should be. Ji said slowly. Instantly, the area became silent once more. It was totally silent. Wuxian wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. He had many things he wanted to say and many questions he wanted to ask the commander. But when he faced the commander, his throat felt like it was being grabbed. He couldn't say a single word. Suddenly, Wu Sheng felt really uncomfortable. He realized that the aura from the commander's body made him feel really bad. It was a little evil. He lowered his head and noticed that some of the crops around were slowly withering. This? Wu Sheng was shocked. He raised his head and looked at Ji. Commander, what is going on with you? What he wanted to ask was what was going on with the commander. Why did he appear here and cause the surrounding crops to wither? This was not normal at all. The commander said, Wu Sheng, there are some things that you don't understand. You don't understand what I went through during this half a year and what happened. I came here to ask you, are you willing to fight for the Alliance? Wu Sheng looked at the commander and then at the ground. He said, Commander, there is no eternal rule. Although Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island took over the alliance, the people are living in peace and have no worries. If we want to take back the power, the people will definitely be plunged into misery and suffering, causing turmoil. Commander, please reconsider. G frowned, and his expression changed. Is it because there is no chance of winning that made you, an Alliance 9-star general, retreat? Commander, it isn't because of that. It is just like what I said. The Alliance people are living in peace, and Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island are managed well. To the people, as long as they are from the Alliance, it doesn't matter who is in power, as long as they are living well. Wuxing said. He felt a murderous intent enveloping him. His words should have made the commander sad for him. But that wasn't important. He was just saying what was in his heart. After Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island took power, many of the original people were dispirited and didn't participate in the new regime. Some returned home and some stayed in the cities. The new regime didn't send people to monitor them and didn't kill them. This was the best place for them. Okay, let's not talk about these things. I'm not interested in who controls the Alliance. My only goal is to deal with Lin Fan. If he doesn't die, I won't be able to rest in peace. I came to ask you whether or not you are willing to take revenge. G's hatred towards Lin Fan had reached an uncontrollable level. Either he dies or I die. Even if he became an evil god, he couldn't forget how Zhu Daoshan looked like before he died. Wuxing looked at the commander and didn't reply right away. He didn't have the same thoughts as before, when the Alliance was just wiped out. He wanted to take revenge on Lin Fan. Even if he had to sacrifice his life, he didn't care. But as time went on, he slowly didn't have such thoughts anymore. You aren't willing? G's voice turned cold, and it sent chills down one's spine. Maybe he didn't expect that he wasn't even willing to help out. Wuxing said, Commander, let the past be in the past. We aren't Lin Fan's match. The reason why the Alliance isn't disturbed by the freaks is because of his help. G was furious. His gaze was so cold that it seemed like it was about to freeze one up. When the evil gods invaded, he was the one who stopped them. For some reason, G felt his blackened heart slowly turn cold. This wasn't the Alliance that he knew. The person in front of him wasn't the 9-star general that he knew. Good, very good. G pointed at Wuxing in rage. I don't blame you for the Alliance being taken, but Lin Fan wiped out the Alliance. Numerous generals and people died to his hands. As the Alliance 9-star general, don't you want to take revenge? Are you worthy of your identity? At this moment, G was really overwhelmed by rage. Everything he did was for the sake of revenge. Who knew that the former Alliance 9-star general would actually say such words? Commander, I know that my actions have disappointed you, but I am really tired. I just want to protect this land and farm and enjoy a peaceful life. Wuxing lowered his head. He knew that his actions were a little too much. As the former Alliance 9-star general, he didn't find his enemies to take revenge and just wanted to retire. If others heard this, it wouldn't be good. Ji just looked at Wuxing. Wuxing lowered his head like he had done something wrong. Even if the person in front of him wasn't the commander, he respected him from the bottom of his heart. He knew that the commander had sacrificed a lot for the Alliance. But the times had changed, and it was different from the past. It wasn't the era that they were familiar with. Pata! Ji walked in front of Wuxing and placed his palm on his shoulder. Okay, I understand. I respect your thoughts. Maybe I had too high hopes for you. Commander. Wuxing opened his mouth in guilt. Pucci. Wuxing opened his eyes wide and grabbed the commander's shoulder. He lowered his head and saw a tentacle strike from the commander's stomach, piercing his heart. Gulialu. Fresh blood flowed out from his mouth. Go. I respect your thoughts, but I definitely won't forgive you. If you want peace, then go and find peace. He slowly retracted the tentacle. A look of relief appeared on Wuxing's face. His body fell backwards and his voice was really weak. Commander, forget it. Ji looked at Wuxing coldly. He scoffed coldly and disappeared from the spot. When he appeared once more, he appeared in the city. He changed his looks and retracted his evil god aura. He walked in the busy city and he felt really calm. If there was something he would remember in his heart, naturally, it was the Alliance. This was a place that they created with their own hands. They spent a lot of effort. He wouldn't allow others to destroy their crystals. Looking at the smiling commoners around, G felt much more happy. Suddenly, G, who was walking, stopped. His gentle gaze became really sharp, and the surrounding temperature dropped. The people who passed all tightened their clothes. They felt really cold, like they were in an ice house. How can you do that? In G's field of vision, a statue stood in the center of the city. If it was a normal statue, then forget it. But when he saw the face of the statue, his brain felt like it was about to explode. It was too familiar, and he would never forget it. Even if he died, he wouldn't. Damn. He didn't expect Lin Fan's statue to appear here. Did the people of the Alliance forget who brought disaster to the Alliance? If Lin Fan heard G say that, he would definitely spit on G's face. How would you have the cheek to say that? You actually try to frame me like that. Your Alliance was the one who found trouble with us. When we fought your Alliance, we didn't kill all of you. All of you just had to use star-level energy to blow me up. Especially when Zhu Daoshen brought the star-level energy above the Alliance headquarters to kill him. I wasn't the one who detonated it, so what did it have to do with me? Of course, to G, he wouldn't care about all this. He would push all the responsibility to Lin Fan. Maybe that was the only way to make him feel better. G wasn't in a good state. Not only was he disappointed in the former Alliance 9-star generals, but he was also disappointed in the people. He actually forgot about what happened in the past and placed his statue in the city. This was an insult to the Alliance. It was also an insult to those 9-star generals who sacrificed their lives for the Alliance. G raised his head. He noticed that the statue released a power that wasn't friendly towards evil gods. It could stop evil gods from invading. But the power that the statues gave off didn't affect G much. Although he was hugged by the deep abyss and became an evil god, in the end, he was still a human. He was a half-human, half-evil god. Kiki, are you afraid of evil gods? You should be afraid of evil gods. You should forget about the past hatred and place your enemy's statue in the Alliance. I will make all of you pay the price. G's mentality changed. If he still cared about the Alliance before, it was totally gone now. The heart of hatred entangled G. All of you deserve to die. Deep Abyss. The top evil god, Postline, sensed G's change and smiled. This was the first time he turned a human into an evil god. He realized that although G had become an evil god, he still kept his human characteristics, especially his emotions. He still cared about the Alliance. But now, he noticed that G's heart was changing. This was a good thing. Hatred and rage filled his heart, and he became the purest evil god. Chapter 635. After Su Yi obtained the blood pearl, he cultivated it every moment, but his speed was really slow. He was stuck at the crucial point between stage 7 and 8. What is going on? Why are there so few Tao pattern laws in the world? Su Yi frowned and didn't understand what was going on. Logically speaking, with the key to breaking through to stage 8, he should have been able to break through easily. After all, he had been at stage 7 for a long time, and his foundations were full. But when he comprehended the Tao pattern laws, he realized that there were very few, and it wasn't enough for him at all. Sect Leader Su, you look so depressed. Is something the matter? Someone asked curiously. Su Yi shook his head. Nothing. I just faced some problems. Tao Realm Stage 8 is indeed tough, and it isn't something that can be broken through in a short time. Actually, just thinking about it makes sense. How is it so simple to break through to stage 8? I think we need to work hard for a period of time. Another sect leader said. Su Yi nodded. He was filled with hope towards reaching stage 8. At least it wasn't as hopeless as before. He continued. Guys, we have searched many places, but we haven't found any traces of evil gods. One has to say that it is a little hard to find. Who knows when we will meet them? So you didn't expect it to be so difficult. At the same time, he felt fortunate. If he didn't make up his mind to consume the blood pearl, then it would be much more difficult to get one. By now, there were already many sect leaders who were regretting their decision. Why did they have to be afraid? If they weren't afraid, then it wouldn't have been so difficult. But luckily, Sui didn't leave after getting the blood pearl and just searched with them. Suddenly, the area in the distance exploded and the dimension collapsed. Numerous shrapnel turned into sharp blades and struck forwards. The shrapnel was really sharp, and when it landed on the ground, it tore open a deep hole. Shortly after, a thunderous roar exploded between heaven and earth. "Stop right there. Don't F Asterisk King run." When he heard that voice, old monster Heaven Slang's expression changed, and his face turned ashen white. He was familiar with that voice, like he had heard it before. Maybe he had seen someone before, but it definitely wasn't good news. Hanlong, a gigantic figure, was hammered out from the dimension. Its body fell down, covering the sky and covering the sun. It was terrifying to the extreme. With a loud rumble, its body smashed into the ground, causing cracks to appear and extend into the distance. "Evil God!" Suyi cried out in alarm, but before he could react, another figure chased after him. It seemed like this figure suppressed the evil god. Looking at the evil god's expression, he was terrified, like he had met a ghost. Lin Fan frowned. He sensed a few familiar auras. They weren't evil gods, but he had seen them before. He glanced at it. Everyone looked at each other. "It's him. It really is him." Old monster Heaven Slang opened his mouth. He saw the person he was most afraid of, the person who once said that he wanted to capture him. So he also recognized who this person was. Sect leader Lin. This was the person who forced the sect leaders of the four alliances away. He was so strong that they had no way to fight back at all. "Long time no see. To think that I would meet you guys here. However, don't even think about leaving. All of you stay here. Whoever dares to move shall bear the consequences." Lin Fan chuckled. At this moment, the evil god that was hammered to the ground roared in rage. He fought back and attacked Lin Fan. "Lie down." Lin Fan pressed down with a palm. To the evil god, it was like his body was being crushed by a terrifying power. He had no way to fight back at all. He was hammered to the ground once more and laid in the deep hole. Xiao! Xiao! Dao patterns spun and circled in the air. They intersected into a net that landed downwards, suppressing the evil god in the deep hole. Lin Fan had wanted to swallow this evil god, but he didn't expect to bump into them here. If he swallowed the evil god in front of them in such a domineering manner, it would have a bad effect. It would scare them, and at the same time, it would make them remember that he wasn't a good person. Lin Fan's methods shocked all the sect leaders. They could sense that the evil god that was being suppressed was strong, much stronger than the ones they faced. But Lin Fan actually suppressed him to the point that he couldn't fight back at all. One had to say that this was a little terrifying. Lin Fan landed on the ground and didn't attack right away. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but that he did hear what old ancestor Xiao said to him. He told the sect leaders of the four alliances to kill the evil god. That was indeed a method. Evil god's location was tough to locate, and it depended on one's luck. It was tough for him to find all of them alone. If the people of the four alliances were all searching for evil gods, then the area they could move in would be much smaller. If I remember correctly, you should be Su Yi, and you are... Old monster Heaven Slaying, I didn't expect you to be here. I told you to wait for me at Monster God Mountain, so why didn't you wait and ran instead? Lin Fan's eyes stopped on old monster Heaven Slaying. He was really interested in old monster Heaven Slaying's ability. Martial Path Mountain lacked such talents. Unfortunately, he didn't cherish it. Look at St. Ru Fo. He knew his place. He was so comfortable in Martial Path Mountain and could even use blood pearls to raise his cultivation. Look at old monster Heaven Slaying's situation. One look and one knew that he didn't use the blood pearls. To find evil gods, they really had to rely on luck. Lin Fan's appearance made them feel really uneasy. They hid from Lin Fan for so long and didn't expect to meet him here. To them, it was like a dog. They felt really helpless and sad. They even wanted to die. Old monster Heaven Slang's gaze was dodging. As the leader of Monster God Mountain, naturally, he wasn't afraid of anyone. But when he faced Lin Fan, he really panicked. He had seen Lin Fan's strength. He really couldn't be reasoned with at all, especially now that they hadn't met for half a year. How much did his strength increase? It was hard to say it all, although without the blood pearls, his strength could only reach Tao Realm Stage 7. Did this person look like he had Tao Realm Stage 7 strength? He was just sick in the head. Why aren't you speaking? Are you shy when you see me? Lin Fan smiled and asked. If he met these people a while ago, he was definitely going to humiliate them, and then, without a second word, he would directly suppress all of them. But now that he was willing to interact with these sect leaders, he was giving them face. The other sect leaders looked at one another and didn't act rashly. Sect leader Lin, now that the 4 alliances have disbanded and we are hiding, why don't you let us off? Sui said. He wasn't rash and just spoke nicely to Lin Fan. Kiki, when did I not let all of you off? Now that I have met all of you, it is because I am chasing evil gods. Why are you all so nervous? Lin Fan said. His gaze still landed on old monster heaven slaying. What do you say? Do you want to follow me back, or do you want to stay here? I think with my strength, even if all the people around you attack, I'll be able to bring you away. At the same time, it won't be hard to kill the sect leaders who are helping you. Shock. The other sect leaders were terrified by Lin Fan's words. Some of them were more practical. They snuck further away from old monster heaven, slaying in case they misunderstood that they wanted to help. Sect leader Lin, I have my own life and thoughts. Please let me go. Old monster heaven slaying said. He was a coward and didn't dare to fight Lin Fan. He had no choice. What could he do? He couldn't beat him. As for hoping for the sect leaders around him to help, that was just wishful thinking. It was best if they didn't think about it. All of them probably want to cut ties with him. Thus, he could only lower his stance. There was nothing to be embarrassed about. After all, no one here had any face left. Ha! Lin Fan smiled. Forget it. The sect leader, will never force people to do things against their will. Since you say so, what else can I say? It's just a pity that you missed this opportunity. I don't think you'll have another chance like this in the future. All right, you all came here to kill evil gods and search for blood pearls. I think you were tempted by that mysterious black shadow, right? Suyi asked. Sect leader Lin knows about that mysterious black shadow. Of course, isn't he the evil god? Lin Fan replied. Until now, he didn't understand what that evil god meant. What did he need to guide these people here to kill evil gods? Was it Lin Fan looked towards the evil god that was being suppressed? He might need the corpse. Apart from that, there was no other reason. Evil god. Su Yi and the others were shocked. It was obvious that they didn't expect that mysterious person to be an evil god. After all, they killed evil gods, and as an evil god, why would he do that? This was a terrifying thing for them. Lin Fan didn't tell them that this was just a guess. Anyway, it didn't matter. They just had to confirm that he was an evil god. Everything else wasn't important. Sect leader Lin, then why did he do that? So he could tell that sect leader Lin didn't want to do anything to them. If he really wanted to kill them, he would have done so long ago. Why did he wait until now? Thus, he relaxed. He asked some questions. You are asking me, but who should I ask? You have to use your brain. Lin Fan said. If other people replied to Su Yi like that, their heads would have exploded. But regretfully, the one who replied was Lin Fan. Even if he was unhappy, it was useless. No matter what, he just had to accept it. So he took in a deep breath and suppressed the rage in his heart. He warned himself not to be rash. He couldn't be rash. Lin Fan wanted to laugh. He looked at the sect leaders who wanted to rage, but didn't dare to. He felt that it was good to be strong. He was just so overbearing. Moreover, he could do whatever he wanted, if not for the rage points that were provided over. He really didn't know what these people were thinking. But it didn't matter. Hatred was okay too. At least it proved that they were of some use. Chapter 636. Just as Lin Fan was teasing the sect leaders, the evil god covered by the Tao pattern net hollered in rage. Small living being, let me go. He felt a little confused and didn't know what had happened. This evil god was ranked 13th and was called the Great Master of Sleep. Ever since that battle, he had been in a deep sleep, entering the dreams of every living being in his dreams. When he entered interesting living beings' dreams, he would play with them. He would make those living beings who had a bright future fall into endless nightmares and slowly make them collapse in despair. His originally bright heart was now completely gloomy and gloomy. And it was precisely because of this that the evil god, who had so much fun, woke up from his slumber. The moment he went outside to breathe in fresh air, everything changed. A stranger. No, or rather, a small living being appeared above his head. The moment he squeezed through the ground and crawled out of the deep pit under extreme flame, this lowly creature streaked past his head. He was furious. Such a small living being actually flew past the noble evil god's head. Did he even respect the evil god? Right as the master of sleep was about to attack, something even more shocking happened. He didn't expect that the small living being would attack him like he had discovered a new continent. With a single punch, he fell to the ground, stunned. After a long while, he came back to his senses. When he came back to his senses, he obviously couldn't take it anymore. He hollered in rage, and his evil god power exploded. He wanted to rip this small thing apart. But slowly, the situation became wrong. It developed to the point where he was being beaten up, and now he was being suppressed here. You had to ask him whether or not he was weak as an evil god. Truthfully, he was really weak. He was so weak that he was about to sweat. Thus, the moment he was locked up, he hollered in rage to vent the rage and unwillingness in his heart. Lin Fan frowned and stared. The Tao pattern net above contracted and pressed down on the evil god's body. Kachi. The Tao pattern net was really dense, causing Master of Sleep's skin to split open and his flesh to split into pieces. The Master of Sleep cried out, and large amounts of blood spurted out. He didn't expect this weak living being to be so cruel. His methods were so overbearing, it was a form of torture. The hearts of Su Yi and the others shuddered as they exclaimed in horror. Once again, they had underestimated Lin Fan. If such a vicious method were to be used on them, the consequences would definitely be unimaginable. They probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Lin Fan didn't want to eat an incomplete evil god body, so he just wanted to punish him a little. If you dare spout any more nonsense, I'll make you taste pain. To the evil gods, death wasn't scary. After all, they could revive in the abyss after they died, so they weren't afraid at all. He ignored the Master of Sleep and continued to talk to Su Yi and the others. It is indeed a wise decision for you to come here to slay the evil god. Sect leader Su has already consumed the blood pearl and can see the path ahead. However, I have to say that this is just the beginning. There's still many difficulties waiting for you. But there's one more thing I haven't told you. Evil gods are also divided into different levels. The truly terrifying evil gods can deal with you with just a thought. With your strength, you won't be able to block it all. Lin Fan didn't hide anything. Since he decided not to kill them, naturally, he didn't want them to die to the hands of the evil gods. That was indeed not worth it. Sect leader Lin, why are you telling us all this? Su Yi asked. Why? Lin Fan thought for a while and said slowly, maybe I'm too kind. Some sect leaders muttered. If this was considered kind, then what was? Forget it. He was strong, so whatever he said was right. What else could they say? In front of absolute strength, no matter what they said, it was right. When Su Yi heard this, he was stunned for a moment and then smiled. Thank you, sect leader Lin, for telling us. If not, we would have faced those strong evil gods and would have died for nothing. He knew that Lin Fan didn't want to kill them. To be able to tell them all this meant that nothing would happen to them. A smile appeared on Lin Fan's face, and he slowly walked towards Old Monster Heaven Slaying. When he arrived in front of him, he patted Old Monster Heaven Slaying's shoulder and said, What a waste. You don't know how to cherish such a good talent. Forget it. I don't like to force people to do things they don't want to do. Good luck. The way he spoke was like someone from the older generation saying something regretful to the younger generation. Lin Fan was young, and along with his tone and attitude, no matter how one looked at it, it was a little weird. Old Monster Heaven Slaying wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Damn, how did such a thing happen? He was the leader of Monster God Mountain, and he actually faced such a situation. If he told others, no one would believe him. But the situation made him speechless. He could only nod his head. Whatever Lin Fan said was right. Who asked him to be weaker than him? Let's go. I hope that I can meet all of you in the future. Lin Fan waved his hands. He was going to swallow the evil gods, and the scene might be a little overbearing. It wasn't good for normal people to see it, so it was best if they left. Naturally, Su Yi and the others didn't want to stay for a moment longer. Goodbye, sect leader Lin. They had to show their respect. Very quickly, everyone fled into the distance, disappearing without a trace. Damn, isn't that kid a little too much? Old monster Heaven Slaying couldn't take it and raged. In front of Lin Fan, he didn't dare to say anything. Now, that Lin Fan wasn't in front of him, what did he have to be afraid of? Everyone agreed with old monster Heaven Slaying's grumbles. But unfortunately, there was nothing they could do. The gap in strength was too huge, and going against him was just asking to die. Okay, now we can confirm that sect leader Lin won't attack us. In the future, we don't need to hide. But the key point is that he didn't say whether or not we can rebuild the sect. Sui said, Sect leader Su, once we break through, can we still let him decide? A sect leader said. His thoughts were really simple. He would raise his strength. At that time, even if Lin Fan didn't agree, it would depend on whether or not his fist was as strong as it was now. Everyone, be careful. Sect leader Lin is really strong. Maybe even if we break through to Dao Realm Stage 8, we won't be his match. Sui said, if it wasn't that he didn't want to be too certain. He didn't even mention the word maybe. To think that they could suppress sect leader Lin after breaking through to Dao Realm Stage 8 was just a dream. It was simply impossible. Our priority now is to continue to search for evil gods. I saw that the evil god that sect leader Lin suppressed was really strong. The stronger the evil god, the stronger the blood pearl. So he didn't know the exact situation. Everything was just his guess. But thinking about it, it was possible. Everyone nodded and agreed with Su Ye's suggestion. Lin Fan walked in front of Master of Sleep. He looked at his giant body and smiled. Master of Sleep struggled, right as he wanted to holler in rage for Lin Fan to release him. His pupils constricted like he had seen a ghost. Lin Fan's body slowly swelled up. A terrifying body was growing in the sky. When it reached its peak, this body was even bigger than Master of Sleep. With a ripping sound, Lin Fan ripped open the Dao pattern net. He opened his fingers and grabbed Master of Sleep. He slowly opened his mouth and a whirlpool appeared. It was like a black hole that wanted to suck everything in. Master of Sleep was so terrified that he couldn't say a single word. Like he sensed death approaching him, he hollered in rage, What do you want to do? I want to eat you. Lin Fan replied, and then stuffed Master of Sleep into his mouth. The Master of Sleep shouted, but very quickly his voice disappeared. Disgusting thing, I don't even want to chew. Lin Fan scolded. He had already eaten him and still insulted the evil god. That was a little too much, but he had no choice. Who asked evil gods to be disgusting? Instantly, Lin Fan felt the darkness god domain in his body shake. A complete evil god entered. Numerous threads wrapped around the evil god and started to absorb him. Along with the absorption, the statue in the god hall gave off the light of a chief god. At the same time, flesh appeared on the arm of the statue. It floated and moved like it was trembling. He is absorbing evil god flesh and blood to make up for what he lacks. What is the darkness god domain to actually need evil god flesh and blood? Is the darkness chief god some evil god? No, evil gods can't die. So how can this darkness chief god die? Lin Fan was a little confused and didn't understand what the darkness god domain was. But it didn't matter. As long as the darkness god domain had needs, then he would satisfy them. Not long later, after the absorption, Master of Sleep's corpse totally disappeared. Lin Fan looked at the situation of the statue and noticed that only its fingers were covered in flesh and blood. D*MN, a complete evil god and one that is ranked 13, actually only cover finger. How is that possible? If he hadn't personally witnessed it, he wouldn't dare to believe it. Based on this progress, How many evil god corpses would he have to absorb for the statue to be covered in flesh and blood? 100? 1,000? Just thinking about it was terrifying. Hayes, I still have a long way to go. Lin Fan shook his head helplessly. At the same time, he was thinking about something. Since that was the case, then he had to treat this world as a battlefield. The place where evil gods were active was called Evil God World. He wanted the people from the 12 cities to move to his world and empty out this place. To find evil gods, he had to do a huge, earth-shaking search. To flip this land, even if he hid in the deep abyss, he had to force them out. After thinking about it, he headed towards the City of Hope. No matter whether or not Fu was willing to leave, he had to move the people from the 12 cities away in case the commotion affected them. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.